the technological template of Konoha. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in this saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement: this story is 100% epic fiction, so please don't attempt real magic. The results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author. We are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 101: The Clash Before the Great Battle. The next day, Orochimaru summoned Gekko-han to the command center again. When Gekko-han returned from Orochimaru's command center, Kimura Takuya, Hyuga Hayashi, and Gekko Hoshino immediately surrounded him, while the others consciously moved away. This is somewhat unexpected. It seems Tsunagakure knew I was coming and made targeted deployments. Seeing the group gathering around, knowing what they wanted to ask, Gekko-han said directly, "Last night, Tsunagakure dispersed all 4,000 plus ninja into squads or platoons within a 200-kilometer radius of Kikyo Mountain. Even the supplies for Kikyo Mountain Castle have been moved and dispersed, leaving fewer than 50 Tsunagakure ninja remaining. Given the current situation, they won't engage in large-scale combat with us. We haven't found their new supply depots yet, but they are expected to be scattered as well. This arrangement by Tsunagakure is most advantageous to them. They want to drag things out until other major powers join the war. This will further strain our forces. Even if we can defeat them before other major powers intervene, our casualties will be enormous." Gekko Hoshino nodded. "And what are Lord Orochimaru's plans?" Hyuga Hayashi asked, somewhat worried. The clansmen he led were all elites or geniuses of the Hyuga clan. Most of them were the future of the Hyuga clan. Following Gekko-han, the god of war, was the best way for them to protect themselves. However, now that the Sand Ninja were operating in a dispersed manner, the Hyuga clan, skilled in reconnaissance, would likely be scattered as well. "Don't worry about that. You will still be under my command," Gekko-han said with a smile. "Although the Sand Ninja's dispersed operations mean we also need to split up, we don't need to break into squads and teams like the Sand Ninja. Instead, we'll advance in groups of 50 or 100, advancing step by step." Hearing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Their biggest fear was being scattered. "Everyone, go and prepare 3 days' worth of supplies. We'll meet here after lunch, and we'll be the first to set off," Gekko-han said. "Okay." Gekko Hoshino and the other two nodded and went off to make their own arrangements. "Teacher, why are we operating in a dispersed manner? Wouldn't it be better for us to concentrate our forces for defense?" In the forest, a young sand ninja who had just entered the battlefield asked his instructor with a puzzled expression. They couldn't understand why, if concentrating their forces to defend Kikyo Castle would be more advantageous, they were instead dispersing their forces, and even more so, by squads and platoons. In normal warfare, you could say it's more advantageous for our defense, but that's based on the premise that that guy hasn't been sent to this battlefield by Konoha, another Chunin beside their instructor said, shaking his head before their instructor could answer. The Chunin leading the group gritted his teeth. If they weren't forced into this situation, why would they willingly abandon a more advantageous strategy and concentrate their forces to defend Kikyo Castle? It was entirely because concentrating forces would only lead to mass suicide. "That guy? Who are you talking about?" the boy asked. "Moonlight Han, the killing machine of the ninja world," the Chunin said through gritted teeth. "That guy was born for war. Ordinary ninjas wouldn't even have the chance to react against him. My former instructor died at his hands, completely powerless, unable even to dodge. The previous Kahoku killing machine and the current ninja world killing machine weren't a mistake. From the beginning, the Sand and Iwe ninjas called him that. That's the one where you're not allowed to fight without at least 300 people, and even abandoning a mission or a base goes unpunished." Hearing this, the boy's face turned pale. The reputation of the ninja world killing machine was a nightmare among the Sand Ninjas. Even mentioning it sent shivers down their spines. The nightmarish name even made people forget the name Moonlight Han. "Stop talking, quickly set up the traps and move out," the Chunin said, crouching down and taking out explosive tags from his robes to set them. Clearly, he didn't want to discuss the ninja world killing machine anymore. "Yes, teacher," the three Chunin replied in unison. PFFT, the next second, the crouching Chunin Sand Ninja suddenly collapsed to the side, crimson blood gushing from his neck like a fountain. "Teacher," the boy, who had just been asking a question, stared wide-eyed, completely stunned, at his teacher's lifeless body. Having just gone to the battlefield, he had never witnessed such a scene. Run. He's here. The other two Jinan took off running, not daring to linger for even a moment. This scene was all too familiar. Their former teacher had died this way, without seeing an attack, without seeing the enemy. PFFT. PFFT. The next moment, a spurt of blood the size of a thumb exploded from the backs of the two fleeing Jinan. The two Jinan collapsed weakly to the ground, panting and convulsing, but no longer possessing the strength to move. PFFT. As if struck by something invisible, the stunned boy's head jerked back violently before he fell backward. A hole the size of a peanut was oozing blood from his forehead, and a large amount of blood flowed across the ground beneath his head. This, 1,000 meters away, Shinizuke Hyuga, his Byakugan activated, was chattering, unable to utter a complete sentence. Such a fast attack, there's no way to dodge it. Hayashi Hyuga watched as one of Gecko Han's arms transformed into an SVD sniper rifle, his heart trembling violently. At this moment, he understood even more clearly why his father had allied with a desolate and weak Gecko clan. He could only say that this alliance decision was absolutely brilliant. No wonder all the elders in the clan agreed. Thanks to the Byakugan's X-ray vision, farsightedness, and 359 degrees field of view, those with a Byakugan could see much more than those without. From the soft pop sound of Gecko Han's arm transforming into a weapon to the death of the first Chunin, it was only a second. This was a distance of 1,000 meters, with more than 50 trees in between, yet Gecko Han launched his attack from a distance of 1,000 meters, and in a second, the attack pierced through the gaps between the tree branches, accurately hitting the vital points of the four Sans ninja. At this distance, even a typical ninja might not be able to see clearly. SVD sniper rifle. Overall length 1,220 mm, barrel length 620 mm, bullet muzzle velocity 830 meters per second, maximum effective range 3,800 meters, magazine capacity 10 rounds, uses 7.62 by 54 mm ammunition. The weapon costs 15 energy points to manifest, and each bullet consumes 0.3 energy points. This is a weapon template that Moonlight Han created while working as a Jinan in the village. It has a silencer. Chapter 102 Clash 2. Chapter 101 The Pre-Battle Clash 2. Let's go. Let's collect the supplies first. Gecko Han patted the dazed Hyuga Shinizuke and took the lead towards the four dead Sans ninja. Follow me. Seeing Gecko Han rushing towards the dead enemies, Hyuga Hayashi and Gecko Hoshino immediately said, leading everyone to follow Gecko Han's pace. Collect useful supplies, seal the enemies' corpses and take them away. Hayashi. Find new enemies. Collect all the headbands, they will be distributed later. Upon arriving at the place where the four Sans ninja had died, Gecko Han quickly gave the orders. Yes, hearing this, everyone quickly got to work. Hyuga Hayashi then directed the Hyuga clan members to disperse in groups of 4 to expand the reconnaissance area. Lord Han, Group 5 is calling. They have spotted about 15 Sans ninja setting a trap in the direction of 8 o'clock to the west. About 1 kilometer away. 10 minutes later, a Hyuga clan member's voice came through the walkie-talkie in Hyuga Hayashi's hand. Moonlight Han gave them walkie-talkies, while Kimura Takuya carried a small radio receiver. Once the Hyuga ninja spotted the enemy, they didn't need to take action, they could simply notify Moonlight Han via the walkie-talkies. Moonlight Han also assigned numbers to these dispersed Hyuga ninja and had them all carry positioning capsules, within a 50-kilometer range. For easy location confirmation, small walkie-talkie, universal type 30-kilometer range, consumes 5 energy points. P.S. The protagonist has radar, but it's not as useful as the Hyuga's tools. The protagonist's radar can't distinguish friend from foe and consumes a lot of energy. Understood, follow them. Upon hearing the walkie-talkie, Moonlight Han immediately replied. He immediately ordered those around him, everyone, follow me to the west at 8 o'clock. Yes. Is the gap between us really that big? Is he still the same Moonlight Han? These Sans ninja are truly vicious. Hyuga Masataka cursed, his face darkening as he watched a Sans ninja a kilometer away create an explosive tag trap, cover it up, then defecate on it before covering it again. They were supposed to dismantle any traps they encountered to prevent them from being triggered by other Konoha teams. HMPH, no matter how vicious they are, they're all dead today, Hyuga Kid said coldly. He hadn't activated his Byakugan, So he hadn't seen the disgusting scene. He and Hyuga Masao were responsible for rotating duties with the other two. Lord Hayashi and the others are here, Hyuga Nini said. She hadn't seen the disgusting scene, she was only responsible for guarding the surroundings to prevent the enemy from getting close. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, half a minute later, Gecko Han, along with Hyuga Hayashi and over 80 other ninjas, landed beside the four. Lord Han, the enemy is in that direction, about 1,500 meters away, a total of 15 people, currently setting traps. Upon seeing Yu Guanghan and his group arrive, Hyuga Masaki immediately reported respectfully to Yu Guanghan. After witnessing Yu Guanghan's strength, they also began to address him as Lord Yu Guanghan. Hearing this, Hyuga Hayashi immediately activated his Byakugan and looked over, then frowned and said, "The trees here are very dense. Those sand ninja are all hidden by the trees, and they are even farther away. Han, should we move closer? Since they are hidden, let's not attack in a straight line," Yu Guanghan said with a smile. He raised his hand and launched 2 drones. Multiple mortars flew into the sky with a slight buzzing sound from the 2 drones. 3 minutes later, Yu Guanghan clasped his hands together and pressed them to the ground. On the ground in front of Yu Guanghan, soil rose from the ground, as if shaped by an invisible arm. In the blink of an eye, 3 90mm Type 97 line mortars took shape. Hayashi Hyuga watched the mortars on the ground with curiosity, his Byakugan activated, awaiting Hayashi's next move. Clang. 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 The next moment, a series of muffled thuds rang out as 90mm artillery shells flew from the muzzles at 227 meters per second, soaring into the sky. In just 20 seconds, 30 shells had already reached the heavens. Meanwhile, accompanied by a whooshing sound, mortar shells landed one after another near the 15 sand ninja who had set up the traps. Boom! The continuous booming explosions lasted for a full 20 seconds, thick smoke and dust rising. In Hayashi's Byakugan, the explosions almost completely covered the area where the 15 sand ninja had set the traps. Flying shrapnel and exploding flames quickly engulfed the sand ninja. Even the razor-thin barrier couldn't protect against the close-range mortar explosions, let alone from all directions. 4 or 5 seconds later, the sound of the explosions finally echoed back from afar. "Let's go," said Moonlight Han, canceling the mortar template and heading towards the target. "Follow me," shouted Hayashi Hyuga, catching up with Moonlight Han. Moonlight Han's long-range attack capabilities are indeed formidable. Rumor has it he has a deadly close combat move, having once killed 1,000 sand and rock ninja in a single battle. How terrifying would that be? Watching Moonlight Han's retreating figure, Hayashi felt a surge of anticipation. That's the sound. Retreat. A mile away from the explosions, a series of explosions, louder than those from detonating tags, followed. A sand ninja's expression changed drastically. He immediately called to his companions, and they fled in the opposite direction of the explosions, even abandoning the half-finished traps. Immediately send out a black signal to all nearby comrades, telling them to avoid this area. With these words, a black signal flare was launched high into the sky. Clean up the battlefield, leave no survivors, take the bodies away, and leave the fighting to the Jinan. 3 minutes later, looking at the severed limbs and several sand ninjas blown to pieces, only able to gasp and wail, Gecko Han gave the order. Yes, upon hearing this, several Hyuga ninjas and Gecko clan ninjas immediately stepped forward to clean up the battlefield, while the Jinan were called to the front. On the battlefield, there is a big difference between those who have never seen blood and those who have. There are not many policies to treat prisoners of war well in ninja wars. Even severely wounded ninjas are in great danger. Sir, a black signal flare has been launched in the northeast direction. 4 sand ninjas are rapidly moving away from here, about 2 kilometers away, a Hyuga clan member reported. Sir, about 2 kilometers to the west, there is also a group of sand ninjas rapidly moving away from here, about 20 people, another Hyuga ninja reported. HMPH, the sand village's higher-ups have really made quite a few escape plans against me. Upon hearing this, Gecko Han snorted coldly. He ordered, quickly send a team to keep an eye on the sand ninja fleeing to the west. Chapter 103 How many people did you actually kill? Regarding the question about the military princess, she doesn't appear much yet, mainly because she hasn't grown up much. Her storyline will increase later. At night, after setting up tents, everyone lit small fires near the tents, eating roasted meat and cooked food, talking about their dreams, and gazing at the future. Perhaps other teams from Konoha wouldn't dare light fires, and the Sand Village Ninja even less so, for fear of attracting enemies and creating a situation where they were in the dark. But for Moonlight Han and his group, they were hoping for more enemies. Dozens of Byakugan eyes could completely ignore the darkness and easily spot enemies in the night, which Moonlight Han could then quickly eliminate. Unless the number of enemies was many times greater, they would all die. Senior Han, how many people have you killed? Why do you have the title of Killing Machine? By the fire, Altair, looking at Moonlight Han, who was deep in thought, finally asked a question that had been on his mind for a long time. Judging from Moonlight Han's performance during the day, it's clear he killed countless enemies on the battlefield. Recalling the first time they met, the hundreds of blood-stained headbands before the memorial tablet were likely his battle achievements, further demonstrating the sheer number of enemies he had slain, even earning him a title from them. Titles aren't something you can just bestow upon yourself, they come from immense strength. Because it was a title given by the enemy, it might not sound imposing, but it's certainly fitting. Hearing Altair's question, everyone stopped their discussion, even the other ninjas sitting around the other campfires looked over curiously. Since arriving at the camp, although they hadn't ventured out much, they had still interacted with some of the ninjas remaining there, heard of Moonlight Han's reputation as a killing machine, and each of these remaining ninjas addressed him respectfully as master. There are probably about 4,000 men now, Moonlight Han said, his thoughts drifting into his own. His kill count had already reached 4,060. Just today alone, he had killed 101 people. 4,000 more. Yu Guanghan's words were like cold water poured into boiling oil. Everyone around, except those who knew the truth, stared wide-eyed at Yu Guanghan. Hyuga Shinosuke was even speechless. In Konoha, Yu Guanghan's reputation was only known among Jonin. Few Chunin and Jinan knew of it, as it was simply too terrifying. But in Tsunagakure and Iwagakure, Yu Guanghan's terror was practically common knowledge. Are they all ninjas? Hearing Yu Guanghan's kill count, Hyuga Shinosuke felt a chill and asked a very stupid question. Nonsense. Lord Han didn't just kill ninjas, did he kill civilians? And over 2,000 of them were killed by Lord Han in one battle. Kimura Takuya forcefully knocked Hyuga Shinosuke's head. Gulp. Upon hearing Kimura Takuya's words and looking at Gekko Han, Shinosuke swallowed hard, counting on his fingers. Except for a few people, everyone around him became afraid to speak loudly. Sitting next to him was a killing machine. Although they knew Gekko Han had killed many people, no one expected so many, over 4,000 ninjas. Even Konoha, the village with the most ninjas among the 5 great nations, only had less than 30,000, and Tsunagakure only had 15,000. Our entire Hyuga clan only has less than 3,000 people. Doesn't that mean Han Senpai could have wiped out our entire Hyuga clan by himself? After calculating for a while, Shinosuke said with a shocked expression. However, his words made all the Hyuga ninjas except himself turn pale. What kind of ridiculous analogy is that? You should have used the Uchiha clan as an analogy. Miyako gave Shinosuke a sharp rap on the head. Yes, it's the entire Uchiha clan. Shinosuke Hyuga, who had just been flicked on the forehead by Miyako, immediately covered his head, tears welling in his eyes, and echoed his older sister's words. Ha. Seeing Shinosuke clutching his head, tears in his eyes, and looking at Miyako with fear, everyone burst into cheerful laughter. With Han-kun's current achievements, he might have a chance to compete for the 4th Hokage position before the end of this shinobi world war, said Hayashi Hyuga. He was increasingly impressed with his father's alliance, or rather, investment. How could that be? I'm only 12 years old now, too young, and lacking in experience, said Gekko Han, shaking his head and simply smiling. Maybe there really is a chance. Lord Han is already a super strong man who has killed 4,000 enemies. Before the 3rd Shinobi World War ends, Lord Han might be able to break through to 10,000 kills. With that record, even with his young age and lack of experience, it's not impossible for him to become Hokage, said Takuya Kimura excitedly. If Gekko Han could truly become the 4th Hokage, then as his top lackey, he would become the Hokage's most trusted confidant. Even without a formal position, his status would undoubtedly be exceptional. Don't think about such impossible things. I have no hope of becoming the 4th Hokage, but I do have the chance at becoming the 5th Hokage, Gekko Han said with a smile. Yes, Lord Han is so powerful. Even if he doesn't become the 4th Hokage, the position of 5th Hokage will surely belong to him. That's right, Hearing this, everyone laughed and said, showing great optimism about Gecko Han's future. This topic also conveniently resolved the awkwardness caused by Shinosuke. Bang! Whoosh! Amidst everyone's laughter and banter, a red signal flare suddenly rose into the sky in the distance. It exploded into a cluster of red flowers in the sky, accompanied by a loud bang. Hearing the sound of the signal flare exploding in the sky, the laughing crowd immediately became serious. Byakugan, several Hyuga ninjas immediately activated their Byakugan. Lord Han, upon seeing the situation, Hyuga Nini immediately reported to Gecko Han, "It's a distress signal flare from our village's ninjas. We have a team of about 50 people surrounded by sand ninjas. They're about 2 kilometers away. Proceed to provide support immediately." Upon hearing this, Gecko Han immediately gave the order. P.S. The ninja force led by Gecko Han consisted of 40 members of the Hyuga clan, 20 members of the Gecko clan, 30 lightning release ninjas, 5 earth release and 5 water release ninjas, plus Kimura Takuya, Hyuga Shinosuke, Altair, Hyuga Miyako, Sarutobi Naruto, Yamashiro Wakiki, and Miyako's instructor, Yamanaka Makoto, plus Gecko Han himself, totaling 108 people. Also, the reason for sending a signal flare instead of launching a ninjutsu into the sky is that ninjutsu can't fly very high. It also makes it difficult to communicate information uniformly and could be exploited by the enemy. Chapter 104 Suicide Drones, Swarms. These damned sand ninja are like mad dogs, Fuji Inuzuka cursed as he led his team in retreat. During the day, they had been successfully hunting down and eliminating the scattered sand ninja, sending them fleeing in all directions. But they never expected that at night, these scattered sand ninja would suddenly assemble into 2 or 3 teams of over 100 ninja to surround and ambush them, attacking them like mad dogs. Explosive tags and ninjutsu were rained down on them like they were free, and the forest was now riddled with traps set by the sand ninja during the day. In a short time, their team of over 70 men had lost nearly 20, and many of the survivors were wounded. "We're almost surrounded. Fire another distress flare. Everyone, prepare to fight to the death." Looking at the sand ninja approaching in the moonlight, more and more appearing from the trees on both sides, like a pack of wolves eyeing them, and with more and more traps appearing along the way, Fuji Inuzuka shouted to his companions again. Upon hearing this, the Konoha ninja led by Fuji Inuzuka gripped their weapons tightly, preparing for a final, desperate fight. Bang! Just as the sand ninja were about to complete their encirclement, yellow fireworks suddenly exploded in the sky a kilometer ahead, one after another, illuminating the area with a yellow glow. Then, yellow fireworks also rose in succession in the forest surrounding Fuji Inuzuka's Konoha group. Retreat. As the yellow fireworks exploded in the sky, commands to retreat echoed through the surrounding forest. The sand ninja, who were almost completely surrounded, quickly retreated like a tide, disappearing into the dimly lit forest under the moonlight. It turned out that the yellow fireworks were not signal flares fired by Fuji Inuzuka's Konoha ninja, but rather a prearranged retreat signal from the sand ninja. The yellow fireworks meant that enemy reinforcements had arrived. The sand ninja have retreated. Watching the sand ninja gradually disappear in the moonlight, Fuji Inuzuka paused, but still remained vigilant, continuing to lead the remaining Konoha ninja in their retreat. "Inuzuka Fuji!" Hayashi Hyuga's shout rang out from the dim forest ahead. Soon, Inuzuka Fuji saw Hayashi leading over 100 Konoha ninja. "Hayashi-kun, the sand ninja gathered 200 or 300 and launched a night attack on us. They seem to have retreated just now, but I'm not sure." Seeing Hayashi, especially his Byakugan with its bulging veins, Inuzuka Fuji confirmed his identity and finally breathed a sigh of relief, quickly explaining the situation. "They've already retreated," Hayashi said. His activated Byakugan clearly showed the situation within a 2-kilometer radius. The sand ninja who had just gathered were now scattered and retreating. Hearing this, Inuzuka Fuji truly breathed a sigh of relief. "Hayashi-kun, in which direction did they retreat?" A cold voice sounded behind Hayashi. Gecko Han asked. Lord Han, hearing Gecko Han's voice, some of Inuzuka Fuji's ninja quickly and respectfully greeted him. These were all Konoha ninjas who had been on the Kikyo Mountain battlefield, so they were naturally familiar with Gecko Han's reputation. Konoha's killing machine, Gecko Han. Inuzuka Fuji also carefully examined Gecko Han. "Han-kun, they've scattered and retreated. Besides the direction we came from, they're scattered in all other directions," Hyuga Hayashi said. Under these circumstances, even Gecko Han would probably be helpless, Given the vast area, Hayashi-kun, please instruct all Hyuga ninjas to immediately check if there are any friendly ninjas nearby and report their location and distance, Gekko-han said upon hearing this. All members of the Hyuga clan, immediately check if there are any friendly ninjas nearby and report their location and distance. Hayashi nodded and immediately instructed the clan ninjas in his group. Since Gekko-han had spoken, he wanted to see what methods Gekko-han would use to eliminate these scattered and fleeing sand ninjas. Byakugan, upon hearing the order, all the Hyuga clan ninjas activated the Byakugan, thoroughly surveying a 2-kilometer radius around them. Angel Fall, suicide drones, swarm, Moonlight Han clasped his hands together, his body rippling with energy. Buzz buzz buzz, accompanied by a buzzing sound like the flapping of bees, a fleet of triangular drones shot out from Moonlight Han's body, filling the night sky like a dense flock of crows, flying in all directions, a total of 400. Their speed was as swift as eagles. No friendly ninjas detected within 2 kilometers, Hyuga ninjas reported in succession. The ninjas of both sides were easily distinguishable, their attire was the biggest difference. Boom! 20 seconds later, a series of dense explosions echoed through the surrounding forest, even the night forest flashing with fiery light amidst the explosions. The dense explosions continued for a full 30 seconds before ceasing. This, Hyuga Hayashi was shocked again. In his Byakugan, the densely packed triangular objects that flew out dispersed in the sky, as if they had eyes, rapidly catching up with a retreating sand ninja at a speed of about 100 meters per second. They then crashed directly into the sand ninja, unleashing explosions no less powerful than 3 exploding tags detonating simultaneously. Even if the sand ninja tried to dodge, they could still be overtaken. Even when some sand ninja used defensive ninjutsu like Earth Wall, they couldn't withstand such violent explosions. Even those who dodged the blasts were mostly injured by the densely packed fragments from the exploding drones, suicide drones, swarm. From Angel Fall, 35 centimeters long, 30 centimeters wide, powered by a propeller engine, weighing 5 kilograms, triangular in shape, speed 100 meters per second, containing 3 kilograms of TNT, control range 5 kilometers, endurance 20 kilometers, no self-identification capability, controlled by the protagonist. Manifestation cost 50 energy points per unit. Because this thing is not yet perfect and there is not enough data, the data is made up by the author. Within a 2-kilometer radius, all sand ninja are dead. The Hyuga ninjas murmured their reports, and when they looked at Gekko-han, they were even more shocked. Nearly 200 sand ninjas scattered within a 2-kilometer radius, all wiped out in less than half a minute. Gulp. Hearing the reports from the Hyuga ninjas, Inuzuka Fuji was also shocked, finally understanding why some of his ninjas were so respectful to Gekko-han. Konoha's killing machine truly lived up to its name. 10 men per team, with 2 Hyuga ninjas, quickly clean up the battlefield. Ignoring the shocked crowd, Yu Guanghan immediately issued the order after the Hyuga ninjas finished their report. 4,208. The kill count had increased by 148, but quite a few sand ninjas had still escaped within a 2-kilometer radius. Chapter 105 The Sand Villages Scheme. It seems this is Tsunagakure's strategy, Hyuga Hayashi said to Gekko-han after sending ninjas to clean up the battlefield. Hearing this, Gekko-han looked over and pondered. Hyuga Hayashi continued, judging from the situation we've encountered so far, the Tsunagakure ninjas are scattered during the day and generally won't engage our ninjas. This is to avoid fighting our ninjas as much as possible and prevent large-scale casualties. The purpose of setting up numerous traps is threefold. First, to cover their escape. Second, to create as much trouble for us as possible and exhaust our energy. And third, to be used when attacking and surrounding our forces at night. At night, when our ninjas are less alert, they use the darkness to gather their superior numbers and attack the relaxed Konoha forces, driving them into the prepared traps. The goal is to kill as many Konoha ninjas as possible. And when we arrived as reinforcements, the Tsunagakure ninjas retreated without hesitation, even though they outnumbered us. This was probably to avoid getting entangled with a large number of Konoha ninjas and being surrounded by more and more of them. Indeed, Gekko-han nodded. Hayashi Hyuga was gathering experience for himself. During battle, they used different colored smoke grenades to transmit emergency information. Hayashi continued. Yellow smoke grenades signal retreat. I haven't seen them use them during the day, so they're probably only used in large-scale operations. Black smoke grenades indicate avoiding a certain area, or rather, avoiding you. That's somewhat accurate. In that case, we can use that. We can conserve our strength during the day, just casually attack, and then come out at night to finish them off when they gather for battle. After all, nighttime is more advantageous for our team. Hearing this, Gekkoha nodded and smiled. As for traps, with over 40 pairs of Byakugan, they would be useless even at night. Alright, Hayashi Hyuga nodded in agreement. Tsunagakure probably wouldn't have expected Konoha to gather so many Hyuga ninja to assist Gekkohan. Yakura, last time we cooperated, because Tsunagakure deliberately concealed information, we lost over 4,000 ninjas and suffered a crushing defeat, while you simply fled. Shouldn't you give us an explanation? In the frontline command post of Iwagakure at Canopy Bridge in the Land of Grass, Wang Tu, seeing Yakura's return, was furious. Before Yakura could even speak, he questioned her. Last time, the alliance with Tsunagakure not only brought disaster upon them but also deliberately concealed crucial information about Gekkohan, leading to the loss of nearly 3,000 ninjas in the Battle of Tenchi Bridge. The strategic advantage they had painstakingly gained was reversed by Konoha due to the massive casualties. They not only retreated from the Land of Fire territory they had already occupied but also lost half of the Land of Grass, which they had completely conquered. And Tsunagakure's people simply fled after the Battle of Tenchi Bridge. Tsunagakure's actions showed no good intentions whatsoever. Not only did they lure a powerful enemy to their side, but they also concealed intelligence to weaken Iwagakure's strength, preparing for the future defeat of Konoha, a clever scheme indeed. However, despite their anger at Tsunagakure's actions, for the sake of the war, the alliance between the two sides did not break down. And Iwagakure did not want to add another enemy to the Sands village. In the Battle of Tenchi Bridge, we also sacrificed over 500 ninjas, and our intelligence on Gekkohan is incomplete, Yakura calmly explained. We also didn't receive timely information about some aspects of Gekkohan. What are you here for today? Are you here to ask for our support? How can I trust you now? Wang Tu asked. Yakura's explanation had already been given by the Sands village leadership after the Battle of Tenchi Bridge. The reason for bringing it up again was to gain the upper hand, to show Yakura that, given the previous experience, they didn't trust them, thus securing more advantage and benefits in the upcoming conversation. If our Sand village is defeated, Iwagakure will have no allies, Yakura said calmly. We've received definite intelligence that Konoha has once again dispatched Gekkohan to the Kikyo Mountain battlefield. We already learned how troublesome he is during the Battle of Tenchi Bridge. He's not called the killing machine of the ninja world for nothing. Wang Tu said with a cold smile, do you think we'd send a large number of ninja troops there to die now? No, we don't need Iwagakure to send troops to support us. Hearing this, Yi Kang shook her head. She had anticipated Wang Tu's refusal and said, I just hope you can speed up your offensive. Now, Kumagakure and Kirigakure are also making moves, they're just observing. If the four great ninja villages can besiege Konoha together, it will be advantageous for us. Hearing this, Wang Tu remained silent, waiting for Yi Kang to continue. Yi Kang was speaking of something she already knew perfectly well. Konoha's current strategy is to defeat us first, and then mobilize troops to replenish other battlefields, Yakura continued. If we lose, then there's no doubt where the killing machine of the ninja world will appear next. He's capable of swaying the course of a war, and how much of an advantage will you still have then? And will Kirigakure and Kumagakure, who are watching from the sidelines, still be targeting Konoha? Probably not. Go on, Wang Tu said. The higher-ups of Iwagakure had already analyzed what Yakura was saying. Yakura continued, there's only one Gekkohan, and there's only one killing machine in the ninja world. Although another member of the Gekko clan has awakened a new bloodline limit, it's not Gekkohan's alchemical bloodline limit, it's just a useless bloodline limit. Moreover, the awakener is just a 4-year-old child, and I think you've already investigated this clearly. The only one who can change the course of the war is still Gekkohan, Wang Tu nodded. He already knew all this. He had even anticipated what Yakura was about to say next. Yakura continued, if we can get Kumagakure and Kirigakure to join the siege of Konoha, surrounding it from all sides, as long as Tsunagakure can hold out and hold off Gekkohan, even if Gekkohan can change the course of the war, he cannot change the fact that Konoha will be defeated. After the victory, not only will everyone get what you want, but Konoha will also be able to kill Gekkohan, and even the entire Gekko clan, completely resolving this bloodline limit. Our higher-ups have already gone to persuade Kumagakure and Kirigakure, Then what can we get from Tsunagakure? Huangta asked. The higher-ups of Iwagakure had already analyzed what Gekira was talking about, and even thought of a countermeasure. Even the third Tsuchikage, Anoki, was preparing to come to the battlefield. Iwagakure can take half of the spoils that Tsunagakure deserves. Upon hearing this, Gekira said directly. Tsunagakure is about to be defeated, Huangtu said. Defeat means nothing, even with huge sacrifices. Gaining the fertile lands of the Land of Fire, along with some war reparations and provisions, and avenging the third Kazakage, that's the goal of our Tsunagakure war, Gekira continued. Half of the spoils is the limit Tsunagakure can offer Iwagakure. The other half, I believe, has already been promised to Kumagakure and Kirigakure by the higher-ups. You Tsunagakure are really generous. I will relay your words back to the village. The final outcome will be decided by the village's leadership, Huangtu said. He understood that Tsunagakure had nothing else to offer. Iwagakure wouldn't even consider the yellow sand, it was less valuable than Iwagakure's stones. As for Tsunagakure having to pay for their sacrifices out of their own pockets, they'd rather surrender to Konoha. Not only would they suffer huge losses, but they'd also have to pay extra after victory. For Tsunagakure, surrendering to Konoha, withdrawing from the war, and returning home to recuperate would be far better. If Tsunagakure withdrew, the war situation would drastically change, and even if they ultimately won, Iwagakure would pay an even greater price. Chapter 106 Kikayo Castle. I wonder how many groups of Sand Ninja Lord Han wiped out tonight. As the sun rose, during the assembly, Hyuga Nini asked curiously, clearly admiring Gekko Han. Fighting alongside Gekko Han was practically safe. There are fewer and fewer Sand Ninja. About 3 groups today. More than 200. Lord Han has killed at least 1,000 Sand Ninja in these 3 days. I wish I could become a powerful ninja like Lord Han, Hyuga Masao said, his eyes sparkling, fantasizing about one day being able to easily kill hundreds of ninja in a single battle, just like Gekko Han. However, his tone was somewhat uncertain. 3 days had passed. Because Gekko Han had changed his battle strategy, conserving his strength during the day and focusing all his efforts on eliminating Sand Ninja at night, the team split into 3 groups for reconnaissance. Gekko Han was in the center, quickly moving to whichever group spotted Sand Ninja. Even Hyuga Masao and his group only knew the situation on their side and in the center. But as far as he knew, there were 3 groups today, totaling over 200 Sand Ninja. With Lord Han leading the way, we can defeat the Sand Village Ninja in 7 or 8 days at most, Hyuga Kazuma said excitedly. Judging from his excitement, Gekko Han had become the most outstanding ninja in his eyes. In fact, not only him, but almost all the ninjas following Gekko Han admired him greatly. If I'm in danger, Lord Han will appear in time to save me, and then I'll repay him with my body and become his wife. Hyuga Nini was full of fantasies, completely unaware that she had voiced her inner thoughts. Hey, Nini, you're 5 years older than Lord Han, a dull voice interrupted Nini's fantasy. If 2 people are in love, age is not a problem. Kazuma, you guys help me. Play the bad guys, Nini said forcefully, with an attitude that said, if you dare not agree, you'll be sorry. Nini, save your breath. People like us playing the bad guys? We'd be dead the moment Lord Han arrives. Hearing this, Hyuga Kazuma said with a headache. Listening to the conversation of the 30-odd companions around them laughed. Following Moonlight Han was indeed easy, and much less dangerous. Boom, just as everyone was laughing and joking, a loud explosion suddenly rang out in the distance above the forest, purple fireworks scattering in the wind. Boom boom boom, immediately afterward, bursts of purple fireworks rose into the sky from the surrounding forest, growing louder as they approached. Everyone was stunned, seeing the purple fireworks blooming in the sky. Konoha's signal flares didn't include purple fireworks. The situation has changed. Everyone, accelerate towards the middle lane. As the purple fireworks exploded in the forest, Moonlight Han's voice simultaneously crackled through the 10 walkie-talkies in the team. This made everyone's expressions serious. Everyone, accelerate forward and converge on the middle lane. A shout rang out from the team, and Nini's group immediately accelerated towards the middle lane. In the forest, in the middle lane of the Konoha Ninja team. The Sand Ninja in the forest are gathering at Kikayo Castle, Moonlight Han said to Hyuga Hayashi. Upon discovering purple smoke rising throughout the forest, Gekko Han immediately activated his bioradar. Under its surveillance, all creatures within a 200-kilometer radius were detected. Many small groups of creatures quickly converged towards Kikyo Castle after the purple smoke grenades went off. These were undoubtedly sand ninja. Over 2,000 ninja have been sacrificed in 3 days. The number of sand ninja in the forest has clearly halved. Even if they were incompetent, the sand village's higher-ups should have realized the problem and knew they couldn't continue like this. Otherwise, in less than 10 days, their 4,000 ninja would be wiped out, and they'd probably be planning to withdraw from Kikyo Mountain, Hayashi said with a smile. In 3 days, Gekko-han and his men had eliminated at least 1,500 sand ninja, in addition to those killed by other Konoha ninja. The original 4,000 plus sand ninja scattered throughout the forest were now likely reduced to half. I don't think so. Maybe they've found a way to deal with me. Hearing this, Gekko-han shook his head and said, they're gathering at Kikyo Castle. We can seize the opportunity they have. Tsunagakure should know this too. If Tsunagakure doesn't have a way to deal with it, then it's just a gamble. Otherwise, Tsunagakure might as well continue to wear us down in the forest, or simply withdraw from the Kikyo Mountain area. Why risk gathering at Kikyo Castle? That's true. Hyuga Hayashi nodded in agreement and asked, so what do we do next? Orochimaru had given Gekko-han complete autonomy, so everyone didn't need to wait for Orochimaru's new orders. Gekko-han could decide for himself. Upon hearing this, Yu-Guang-han smiled and said, of course, we'll retreat with these sand ninja. The gathering of sand ninja is undoubtedly giving us an opportunity. Once everyone is here, immediately head towards Kikyo Castle. Be careful to avoid the sand ninja. If you can't avoid them, kill them. Kikyo Castle is built against Kikyo Mountain and is the last stop before entering the Land of Rivers. After passing Kikyo Castle, it's another 50 kilometers to enter the Land of Rivers. The Land of Rivers is densely mountainous with numerous rivers and canyons, making transportation extremely complex. It can be said that crossing a mountain can take half a day. The mountainous Land of Rivers is also a major producer of medicinal herbs. Of course, this country with difficult roads also attaches great importance to its transportation. At important transportation locations, there are many bridges built across mountains and rivers. At this time, Yu-Guang-han had already led his 107 ninjas to the mountain near Kikyo Mountain, gazing at Kikyo Castle from afar. Is this Kikyo Castle? It's practically a miniature ancient city. The walls are almost as tall as our Konoha village's walls. They're probably 10 meters high. Looking down at Kikyo Castle, thanks to his Byakugan's far-sightedness, the ignorant Shinosuke exclaimed in amazement. Not only that, the geography here is very important, so even after suffering heavy casualties, the Sand Village ninja are unwilling to easily withdraw from Kikyo Castle, Hyuga Hayashi said, explaining the situation to Gekko-han. And there's a steady stream of Sand Village ninja on their way, Gekko-han added. Under the detection of the bioradar, biological points were still continuously entering Kikyo Castle. Bioradar can detect all living organisms and plants within a maximum range of 500 kilometers. The stronger the vitality, the easier it is to detect. The more energy points consumed, the lower the detection limit and the farther the detection distance. Energy points consumed per second range from 5 to 500. This is the 3rd chapter today. Please vote and donate. Thank you everyone. Chapter 107. Those damned Sand Village people have ill intentions. Something's not right. Having finished his rations, Moonlight Han, preparing to bombard Kikyo Castle, frowned. Looking at the castle in the distance below, he felt he'd overlooked something important. Damn it, those Tsunagakure ninja are up to no good. After activating his bioradar for another, more efficient scan, Moonlight Han cursed. A wave of fear washed over him. If the bombardment had actually happened, he would have been in serious trouble. The Konoha ninjas, who had been waiting for Moonlight Han's performance, were completely bewildered by his outburst. Han-kun, what's wrong? Hyuga Hayashi asked. As expected, war is not so easy to fight. We were too successful in our previous battles and overlooked a very important matter, Yu-Guang-han said with a gloomy face. There are at least 100,000 people in Kikyo Castle now. I'm afraid the Sand Ninja who retreated into Kikyo Castle have changed their clothes and disguised themselves as citizens of the Land of Fire. 100,000 people? Are there that many people in Kikyo Castle? Upon hearing this, Hyuga Hayashi said in surprise. He had been to Kikyo Castle before. Although Kikyo Castle was large, it was far from having 100,000 people. At most, there would be 30,000 people, Not to mention that Kikyo Mountain was currently experiencing war. Of course, Kikyo Mountain couldn't possibly have that many people. I'm afraid they also moved the people of the Land of Fire from nearby villages into the city. Now the city is overcrowded, Yu Guanghan said. Damn Sand Ninja. Upon hearing this, the Konoha ninjas led by Yu Guanghan also cursed loudly, cursing the Sand Ninja for dragging innocent people of the Land of Fire into the war, cursing the Sand Ninja for being shameless, and cursing the Sand Ninja for having ill intentions. What do we do now? Hayashi Hyuga asked, a wave of fear washing over him. If Gekko-han had actually launched an attack, it would have caused the deaths of countless innocent civilians in the Land of Fire, and Gekko-han would likely have been destroyed as well. The Sand Village was determined to drag Gekko-han down with them, even in defeat. What else can we do? Let's wait. Let's wait for Lord Orochimaru to arrive with his main force. In the current situation, I can't launch a large-scale attack, Gekko-han said, shaking his head, feeling utterly helpless. Artillery fire is essentially indiscriminate. If he killed a large number of civilians, he would likely be executed after the battle. He had 4 million energy points, but was powerless to do anything about it. Lady Chiyo, is this really a good idea? What if Gekko-han doesn't know there are many civilians in the city and launches an attack? Lady Chiyo's reputation will be completely ruined, Raza said again in Kikyo Castle, looking at Chiyo after some hesitation. Dragging so many civilians into the ninja war would also have a huge negative impact on the reputation of Tsunagakure, and Chiyo would become a sinner. I'll give up my old face for this battle. After this battle, I will retire and never interfere in Tsunagakure's affairs again, Chiyo said resolutely. Tsunagakure is in dire straits now. Of the 15,000 ninjas, less than 6,000 remain, some of whom are left to defend the village and guard against other villages. Even if it means ruining her reputation in her later years, she must ensure that Tsunagakure overcomes this crisis. Even if she gains no spoils after defeating Konoha. As long as she can carve out a piece of land from the Land of Fire where she can live, her sacrifice will be worthwhile. The future of Tsunagakure in the Land of Wind still exists. Lady Chiyo, we can also ask Lord Bunfuku, Raza said, intending to persuade him again. Bunfuku was the first Hokage's Jinchuriki. Bunfuku won't come out, Chiyo said, shaking her head. She and Bunfuku were both elders of the Land of Wind, and she knew Bunfuku well. Moreover, she had tried to persuade Benfu more than once, but each time she returned empty-handed. It seems that Tsunagakure has stumped Honkun, 5 kilometers outside Kikyo Castle. Orochimaru, who had led the Konoha ninja army, looked at Yu Guanghan, who was waiting idly there, and said with a smile, I'm afraid you, Lord Orochimaru, are also having a hard time. Yu Guanghan shook his head and said. Without waiting for Orochimaru to ask, he explained the situation. Those bastards from Tsunagakure have gathered a large number of civilians from the Land of Fire in Kikyo Castle. There are probably 100,000 of them, I know, Orochimaru said with a smile. Konoha's spies had already passed the intelligence to him. This was indeed a very troublesome matter. No matter who commanded this battle, the civilian casualties could not be too great, otherwise, they would have to wait for the reckoning later. Does Lord Orochimaru have a solution? Yu Guanghan asked. Thanks to Honkun's efforts in the early stages, our forces are now more than twice that of Tsunagakure, giving us a huge advantage. Everyone is also prepared to fight to the death. Hearing this, Orochimaru said with a smile. In this war, the village was prepared to end the war with Tsunagakure quickly, even if it meant sacrificing more lives. Hearing this, Gekko-han fell silent for a moment. Orochimaru's strategy was essentially the same as his own. Gekko-han's gaze fell upon the ninja force led by Orochimaru. Over 5,000 men, many of whom were familiar faces, including Orochimaru's disciple, the 8-year-old Matarashi Anko. In the original story, Anko participated in this battle at 9 or 10 years old. Honkun, let's go, Orochimaru said with a gentle smile, looking at the silent Gekko-han. Yes, Gekko-han replied, leading his troops to join the main force, heading towards Mount Kikyo, Kikyo Castle, an ancient castle built during the Warring States period. The castle walls were 10 meters high, and the gates were 5 meters wide and 3 meters high, a very grand castle for the Warring States period. However, such castles became less useful after the rise of ninjas. When the Konoha team arrived outside Kikyo Castle, the castle gates were already tightly shut, and not a soul could be seen on the walls. After assigning the battle plan, Gekko-han found Altair and Shinosuke. Shinosuke, Altair, will be splitting up after entering the castle. You two must stick close to Kimura Takuya or Hayashi. Although we have a numerical advantage, the Sand Ninja have infiltrated the civilian population. Danger is everywhere, and this battle will be extremely perilous. I don't want our newly formed team to be incomplete in this battle. Looking at the closed gates of Kikayo Castle, Gekko-han whispered to his two teammates. Yes, the two nodded solemnly. Senior Han, isn't it safer to follow you? Shinosuke asked. I've killed too many Sand Ninja. They wish they could devour me alive. Before, it was difficult for them to get close to me, but now it's different. After entering the castle, the Sand Ninja will blend in with the civilians and have countless opportunities to approach me. Following me is the most dangerous thing, Gekko-han shook his head and said. Chapter 4 today. Chapter 108 Tiger Style, Hasty. Beneath Kikayo Castle, amidst thousands of Konoha ninja arrayed in formation, Yu Guang'an stepped out of the ranks and walked calmly towards the castle gates. 10 drones detached from his body and took to the sky. As he approached the gates, Yu Guang'an frowned, then a disdainful smile appeared on his lips. Boom! The next moment, a powerful explosion erupted beneath Yu Guang'an's feet. Lord Han, seeing Yu Guang'an engulfed in the explosion, many in the Konoha ranks behind him showed expressions of worry. It hid him. Behind the gates, a Sand Ninja peering through the cracks beamed with delight. Only Orochimaru shared the same disdainful smile as Yu Guang'an. The next moment, Yu Guang'an calmly emerged from the smoke and dust of the explosion, completely unharmed. The flames from the explosion were converted into heat energy and absorbed by Moonlight Han. The shockwave and gale force winds from the explosion also became kinetic energy, replenishing Moonlight Han's energy points. Even Moonlight Han's clothes remained undamaged. How is this possible? The Sand Ninja behind the city gate were stunned, staring at the unharmed Moonlight Han. The Konoha ninja also breathed a sigh of relief. Orochimaru wore an expression of knowing satisfaction. Click clack clack, the sound of mechanical movement emanated from Moonlight Han's body, which tumbled and deformed like a Rubik's Cube. Just like in Transformers, in a mere second or two, Moonlight Han had drastically changed its appearance. Wide tracks, heavy armor, an 88mm cannon, a rotating turret, and 2 exhaust pipes emitting blue smoke, a low growl like a tiger's, emanated from the tiger type. Moonlight Han began to move like an Iron Mountain, tiger-heavy tank, overall length, 8.45 meters, height, 2.86 meters, weight, 57 tons, main gun, 1 kW K36L/56 tank gun, caliber, 88mm, 17.92 caliber MG34 general purpose machine gun, power, 700 horsepower, armor made of nickel chromium manganese rolled steel, thickness data not provided, too much to list. Manifestation energy consumption, 10,700 points, maximum speed, 38 km per hour, road, 1521 km per hour, off-road, energy consumption per 100 km, road 45 points, off-road 65 points. The transformation of the tiger by Moonlight Han stunned everyone, both Konoha ninja and Sand Ninja. Boom! Another explosion rang out, explosive tags detonating under the tiger's tracks. As the tiger advanced, more and more explosions occurred, and this time everyone saw clearly. Moonlight Han was completely unharmed by the explosions. What the hell is that? The Sand Shinobi behind the gate felt a chill run down their spines as the tiger-heavy tank, transformed by Moonlight Han, completely ignored the explosive tags they had planted. They couldn't possibly break through such armor. But Moonlight Han wasn't about to simply take the hits. The tiger's turret began to rotate, aiming at the gate in the terrified gazes of the Sand Shinobi behind it. Run! A terrified cry rang out from behind the gate. They remembered a description from intelligence about the ninja world's killing machine. Once targeted, death was certain. Bang! The sound of a cannon firing rang out. Boom! The heavy gate exploded into fragments. All the Sand Shinobi behind the gate were blasted away by the explosion. Hiss hiss hiss! A dense barrage of gunfire, like tearing cloth, erupted as 7.92mm machine guns began to spray fire. A dense hail of bullets rained down on the now-defunct gate opening. PFFT PFFT PFFT, accompanied by splattering blood, the bullets mercilessly pierced the bodies of the Sand Shinobi behind the gate, riddling them with holes. Whoosh! The engine roared even louder, and with a sound that could crush any supercar, The tiger accelerated, its tracks leaving 2 deep tracks in the ground before crushing the explosive tags buried in the earth, and it charged straight into the city gate and into the city. Lord Orochimaru, Moonlight Han has already entered the city, seeing Moonlight Han rush into Kikayo Castle, but seeing that Orochimaru had not given an order to attack, Heihachi Hyuga quickly said to Orochimaru, "No rush." Hearing this, Orochimaru smiled and said, "Heihachi-kun, Han-kun can still gain more sorrow, it's not too late to charge later." Die, wind release, wind cutter, wind release, pressure damage, water release, water dragon bullet, earth release, earth rising spear. In Kikayo Castle, as soon as the tiger entered the city, several sand ninja rushed out from the surrounding houses. Wind release, earth release, and water release all roared towards the tiger type. Clang clang clang. Unfortunately, the wind release was completely ineffective, and the water release couldn't even budge the tiger type's 59-ton weight. Even the much anticipated earth release, earth rising spear, upon impacting the tiger type's armor, only produced a clanging sound before shattering into pieces. The slight dents from the impact healed instantly. Bang! The tiger type's turret spun, and a shell instantly shot from the barrel, shattering a sand ninja into pieces with a soft thud. The shell then struck a nearby house, collapsing half of it. Hiss hiss hiss, the general-purpose machine hissed, and crimson bullets swept towards 2 sand ninjas. Unfortunately, while the tiger type's armor was thick, it lacked agility, and the machine's firing angle was too narrow, allowing the 2 sand ninjas to dodge. Earth release, swamp of the underworld, the ground became muddy, and the tiger type's massive body began to slowly sink. The movement stopped. Using the tiger formation was too hasty. Moonlight Han sighed, canceling the tiger formation template. It's just the tiger formation, not a transformer. There isn't a universal template for transformers yet. Click clack clack. Accompanied by a series of mechanical grinding sounds, Moonlight Han transformed back to its original form within a second or two, slowly sinking into the swamp. An opportunity? How could the sand ninja miss such a perfect opportunity? Earth release, water release, and wind release techniques rained down on Moonlight Han again. Dozens of sand ninja rushed out of some houses, hurling poison kunai and explosive tags at Moonlight Han, trapped in the swamp of the underworld. Boom! The next moment, explosions and the roar of ninjutsu echoed through the city. Before everyone's eyes, all these attacks landed on Moonlight Han. However, this wasn't the end. The sand ninja showed no sign of stopping. Various ninjutsu and attacks continued to be unleashed into the thick smoke and dust, creating even greater momentum. The shrill roar of machine guns echoed through the dust and smoke. From the drone's perspective, bullets rained down on the attacking sand ninja. PFFT. PFFT. PFFT, blood splattered, and bits of flesh flew everywhere. Half the sand ninja fell in the blink of an eye. Retreat, shouts rang out as the remaining sand ninja quickly fled into the surrounding houses. Damn sand ninja, curses rang out through the dust and smoke. Through the drone, Moonlight Han noticed many civilians in the surrounding houses. For some reason, I suddenly wanted to use a tiger tank to fight small fry. I'll arrange a side story soon, about fighting the Japanese. Any recommendations? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Battle of Kikayo Mountain. Amidst the smoke and dust, Moonlight Han walked step by step towards the edge of the swamp. Even though the ground beneath his feet was swampy, the liquid robot, transformed into a flat surface, made it feel like walking on solid ground. Moonlight Han's T-1000 liquid robot had been damaged, exposing the skeleton of his T-800 form on his face. However, with the flow of the liquid robot, the damage was quickly healed. Damn it, he emerged unscathed from such a dense attack. He's a monster. This isn't just immunity to fire release, lightning release, and ninjutsu, he's immune to all ninjutsu. Seeing Moonlight Han emerge from the smoke and dust unharmed, the sand ninja hiding in the surrounding houses cursed inwardly, some even in despair. Moonlight Han was also somewhat desperate, because he lacked a template for quickly and accurately clearing out enemies. All he had was a template that couldn't distinguish friend from foe. Now, the sand ninja and the civilians of the Land of Fire were mixed together, and he dared not easily expose himself. He could only search house by house, Then activate his energy radar to scan for those with high energy reactions and quickly kill them. The efficiency was exceptionally low. Attack, hearing the commotion within the city subside, reduced to sporadic gunfire. Orochimaru, outside Kikayo Castle, knew he was at his wit's end. He finally gave the order to attack. Kill. With a command, a deafening battle cry erupted from the Konoha ranks. 5,000 Konoha ninja, in squads and platoons, immediately charged into Kikayo Castle. As the Konoha ninja stormed in, the Sand Ninja finally drove the Fire Country civilians trapped inside their houses out and joined the fray, launching surprise attacks on the Konoha ninja. In an instant, Kikayo Castle descended into chaos. Ninjas were fighting everywhere, and corpses littered the ground. Konoha ninja, Sand Ninja, and innocent Fire Country civilians. Explosions echoed throughout Kikayo Castle, ninjutsu and explosive tags. Gunfire rang out intermittently within Kikayo Castle, only to be drowned out by the surrounding fighting and explosions. Moonlight Han wandered through Kikayo Castle, fending off attacks from Sand Ninja disguised as civilians while simultaneously firing to aid the Konoha ninja fighting the Sand Ninja. Die, in the chaos, surrounded by fleeing Fire Country civilians, a civilian running past Moonlight Han suddenly rips open his clothes, revealing a chest full of explosive tags, and roared as he clung tightly to Moonlight Han. His eyes blazed with madness and a determination to die together. HMPH, faced with this situation, Moonlight Han remained unfazed. This wasn't the first time. Liquid metal flowed from his body, quickly enveloping the Sand Ninja. The exposed T-800 metal frame and red electronic eyes were like a ghost from hell, sending chills down the spines of those around him. The explosive tags detonated, but Moonlight Han absorbed them all without a spark. The liquid metal returned, and Moonlight Han remained unharmed. Chakra sealing technique. A hand seized the opportunity to press against Moonlight Han's back, but it had no effect. Metal flowed along his back, firmly binding the sealed ninja's hands. Moonlight Han's body twisted unsettlingly 180 degrees, his palm forming a blade that pierced the chest of the ninja skilled in sealing techniques. Clang, before Moonlight Han could pull his hands away. The clanging of chains echoed around him. 8 chains flew in from all directions, quickly binding him tightly. 8 burly Sand Ninjas pulled on the chains with all their might from 8 directions, preventing Moonlight Han from moving an inch. Long swords gleamed purple around Moonlight Han as a Sand Ninja, disguised as fleeing civilians, plunged his poison sword into Moonlight Han's body, not seeking to kill him, but merely to wound this nightmare. Electric shock. A soft voice came from Moonlight Han's mouth, and a strong blue current instantly erupted from his body, spreading rapidly along the chains and the long sword that had pierced him. In the blink of an eye, it turned the 8 ninjas holding the chains and the 3 Sand Ninjas who had stabbed him with poison swords into light bulbs. In just a few seconds, all 11 people were cooked. Seeing this, the civilians who were scattering and fleeing around immediately moved away from Moonlight Han, and the Sand Ninjas who were still hiding nearby had no choice but to give up for the time being. Clap clap clap, the sound of applause rang out in the street. Orochimaru walked up alone, smiling and saying, "Han-kun's growth really surprises me, Lord Orochimaru." Moonlight Han pulled off the chains binding him and said with a smile, "It was just dealing with some low-level Sand Ninjas. Han-kun, you are too modest. These 11 Sand Jonin were specifically targeting you. Under such circumstances, even I would have had to put in some effort to deal with them, but Han-kun perfectly counterattacked and killed them," Orochimaru said with a smile. He felt a pang of disappointment. The Sand Ninja hadn't managed to injure Moonlight Han. He was increasingly envious of Moonlight Han's bloodline limit, especially after witnessing his battle firsthand. No bloodline limit could be more perfect, more captivating than this. Even wood release couldn't compare to the alchemy bloodline limit in his heart. Even just one characteristic of Moonlight Han's bloodline limit would be enough to make countless people yearn for it. Unfortunately, after the battle at the Tenchi Bridge, Orochimaru had lost confidence in defeating Moonlight Han. Seeing Moonlight Han fight today only diminished his confidence. Immunity to Genjutsu, sealing techniques, and poison left him with virtually no means to subdue Moonlight Han. On the contrary, given Moonlight Han's abilities, a moment of carelessness could easily lead to an instant counterattack and death, too risky. His original plan to use the Sand Ninja to bleed Moonlight Han now seemed impossible. "Lord Orochimaru, the battle continues, so I won't chat with you any longer," Moonlight Han said with a smile, noticing the change in Orochimaru's eyes. "Han-kun, you must achieve many merits," Orochimaru said with a smile upon hearing this. Try your luck, who knows. Watching Yu Guanghan leave, Orochimaru smiled, summoned several large snakes, swallowed all the corpses and traces of the battle, and returned the snakes to Raichi Cave. The battle in Kikayo Castle continued until nightfall. The Sand Ninja not only used civilians from the Land of Fire to infiltrate and ambush the Konoha ninja, but also used the civilians fleeing the city as cover for their retreat as the battle neared its end. Now that defeat was inevitable, the Sand Ninja naturally did not want further casualties. After wandering and fighting in the city for a day, Yu Guanghan did not encounter Raza, Chiyo, or Pakira. The 10 drones in the sky also failed to spot the 3. The already wounded Sand Ninja did not want to lose any high-level combatants in a battle where the outcome was already decided. Even though they desperately wanted to kill Moonlight Han, they still had to consider the future of the village. Chapter 110 Treating the Wounded. At dawn, just as the sun rose, the Konoha ninja began cleaning up Kikayo Castle after the great battle. Countless houses were destroyed in the fighting, and corpses lay strewn across the streets, in ditches, inside houses, and on rooftops. A rough estimate put the number of corpses in Kikayo Castle at over 20,000. Countless civilians from the Land of Fire had perished here, caught on the crossfire of the ninja battle. Even with the ninjas cleaning up the bodies, it took 2 full days to clear them all. There were simply too many corpses to prevent a plague, except for the Konoha ninja corpses which were sealed in scrolls. All the rest were taken outside the city and burned. The fires burning the corpses raged outside the city, turning the clouds red, and black smoke billowed westward, filling the entire Kikayo mountain area with a pungent stench that lingered for 2 days before gradually dissipating. After the corpses were burned, the surrounding ground was covered with a thick layer of white ashes. Lord Orochimaru, Lord Han, the losses have been tallied. In the temporary command post of Kikayo Castle, the ninja in charge of the statistics respectfully called out to Orochimaru and Gekko Han, handing them a form. Lord Han, thanks to your participation, our casualties are much lower than expected. After glancing at the report, Orochimaru handed it to Gekko Han, smiling. 1,830 wounded, including 405 disabled, and 781 dead. Gekko Han took the report and looked at it, falling silent. Although he had anticipated heavy casualties, 2,600 casualties were still too high. The Konoha ninja outnumbered the Sand Ninja by more than double, and there were only about 2,000 Sand Ninja left in Kikayo Castle. Of those, 400 to 500 were killed by him, and some Sand Ninja escaped. In other words, the Konoha ninja fought with more than double the number of their own, suffering twice the losses. The biggest reason was that the Sand Ninja had infiltrated the civilians of the Land of Fire. Lord Han, this result is acceptable to the village, Orochimaru said with a smile, looking at the silent Moonlight Han. Although we suffered heavy losses in the Battle of Kikayo Castle, the number of ninja we lost in the entire Battle of Kikayo Mountain was not large, while the Sand Village was almost completely incapacitated and unable to wage war again. Victory in the war against the Sand Village is not far off. Ah! Damn Moonlight Han! In a forest in the Land of Rivers, Raza roared, venting his anger. The surrounding Sand Ninja, seeing this, remained silent, each one as dejected as a defeated golden retriever. Of the more than 4,000 ninja from Kikayo Mountain, less than 800 ultimately retreated. More than 3,200 remained forever on that land. Without a doubt, at least half of the dead Sand Ninja died at the hands of Moonlight Han. That man was simply a ruthless killing machine born for war. After withdrawing from Kikayo Castle, Chiyo also chose to retire and return to the rear of Tsunagakure. With Chiyo's retirement, Ebizo will likely retire soon as well. After venting his anger, Raza calmed down again, summoned several Jonin, and instructed them, send detailed battle reports of the Kikayo Mountain battle to Kumagakure, Kirigakure, and Iwagakure. Also, send them to Omegakure and Churugakure. There's no need to hide anything or exaggerate. If asked, just answer truthfully, yes. Upon hearing this, the Tsunagakure Jonin immediately accepted the order and quickly left. Sigh. After the Tsunagakure ninja left, Raza sighed, deeply worried about the future of Tsunagakure. At noon, in a relatively undamaged residential area, a group of lightly wounded soldiers, bandaged up, gathered outside a large house. They craned their necks to look through the windows, while those who couldn't see were listening intently to what was happening inside. At the entrance of the house, medical ninjas carried heavily wounded ninjas on stretchers and waited at the door. "All right, Move around a bit and see if there are any major problems. Inside the house, Yu Guanghan lifted his hand from the wound of one of the injured ninjas. As soon as he lifted his hand, streams of black, watery substance quickly gushed from the wound and flowed back into the wound on Yu Guanghan's palm. The wound completely healed after all the black, watery substance flowed out, and the wound on Yu Guanghan's palm also healed after the black substance flowed in. Hearing this, the ninja who had just received treatment immediately got up and moved around. Although his face was still pale and his steps were a little unsteady, there were no major problems. No major problems, thank you, Lord Han. After moving around a few times, the ninja immediately thanked Yu Guanghan. That's good. You still need to rest well when you get back and eat more blood-nourishing foods, Yu Guanghan said with a smile to the Konoha ninja. Then he called to the medical ninja outside the door, bring in the next seriously injured person. Yes, the medical ninja at the door immediately responded loudly, his voice filled with joy and admiration. He and his companion quickly carried the next seriously injured ninja into the house and placed him on the bed. Yu Guanghan then reopened his hand and continued treating the injured. What an enviable bloodline limit. Fate is so unfair. Orochimaru, who was watching from the side, saw Yu Guanghan heal one seriously injured person after another. Even those ninjas who needed amputation could be restored by Yu Guanghan. Orochimaru's eyes were filled with desire and longing, and he even felt a sense of regret. Truly worthy of Lord Han. His medical ninjutsu is comparable to Lady Tsunade's. Lord Han's future might even surpass Lady Tsunade's. Outside the house, watching one severely injured ninja after another recover in such a short time, the onlookers were increasingly excited. Even the medical ninjas were quite impressed by Gecko Han. As time passed, more and more severely injured ninjas were healed by Gecko Han. The sun began to set. Lord Han, won't you rest for a while? Hyuga Hayashi asked worriedly, watching Gecko Han continue treating the severely injured. Lord Han, please rest for a while. Hearing Hyuga Hayashi's words, the surrounding ninjas realized that the sun was about to set, and they all echoed his sentiment. It's alright. Bring in the next seriously wounded soldier. Their injuries have already been delayed for 2 days, we can't afford to delay any longer. With so many wounded, how much time will it take if every 100 of them rest for a while? Less delay means less pain for them. Hearing this, Yu Guanghan said with a smile, and had the medical ninja carry in the next seriously wounded soldier. Lord Han, hearing Yu Guanghan's words, the surrounding Konoha ninjas were deeply moved. Lord Han is truly a competent medical ninja. We must all learn from Lord Han from now on. The medical ninjas also had even greater respect for Yu Guanghan. Looking at the many Konoha ninjas inside and outside the room who were deeply moved, Yu Guanghan was speechless. If he hadn't lived in the Naruto world for 12 years, he would have thought he had transmigrated into One Piece. Should he pretend to be very tired? Chapter 111 The Sand Village refuses to surrender. New orders. Han-kun, what are you thinking about? On the castle tower of Kikayo Castle, Hyuga Mieko looked at Gecko Han, who sat alone on the top of the gate tower, seemingly lost in thought, and asked softly. I'm thinking, when will this damned war finally end? It's been almost a week now, why hasn't Tsunagakure surrendered yet? Hearing this, Gecko Han turned to look at Hyuga Mieko and said with a smile. Although he had the advantage of knowing the plot, the Third Shinobi World War had already changed because of him, and the Kikayo Mountain battle had now started at least a year earlier. The plot he knew had changed. Also, why hadn't Tsunagakure surrendered by now? So many ninjas had already died, and the number of ninjas left in Tsunagakure was definitely no more than 5,000, not even enough for defense, let alone offense. The war had reached this point, with more than 2/3 of their ninja forces lost. Why was Tsunagakure still holding on? Have you figured out why? Mieko asked, sitting down next to Gecko Han. If I had figured it out, I wouldn't be thinking about it now. Hearing this, Gecko Han shook his head and smiled bitterly. However, Tsunagakure's stubborn resistance must be for their own great benefit, and something that benefits them is definitely not good for their enemy, Konoha. But I still don't understand what it is. Han-kun, wars always end eventually. Konoha will surely win, and Tsunagakure will surely surrender, Mieko said with a smile. Indeed, everyone firmly believes that Konoha will win. Yu Guanghan nodded in agreement and smiled. Han-kun, what do you plan to do after the war ends? Mieko asked with a smile. After the war ends, I plan to give up being a ninja. Hearing this, Yu Guanghan shook his head. Hearing this, Mieko was immediately puzzled. Why? I remember you didn't say that before. Did you want to become a powerful ninja the most? No matter the wind or rain, or what holiday it was, you trained very hard every day, never missing a day. I hate the killing among ninjas. Yu Guanghan shook his head and said. So, if you give up being a ninja, what do you plan to do? How will you support yourself in the future? Hyuga Mieko asked. Become a merchant. Being a street vendor is a good option too, Moonlight Han said with a smile. Some mass-produced technological items in the system can be sold for money. You're so strong, it's such a waste for you to be a street vendor, Mieko chuckled. When everyone goes to buy things from you, they'll all be as careful as grandsons. It'll be so much fun, maybe, Moonlight Han said, looking up at the sky. Remembering some things, the smile on his face gradually faded, and he became conflicted. Becoming a vendor won't be easy, after all, you're so powerful, Mieko said with a smile. Lord Han, a root ninja instantly appeared in front of Moonlight Han, kneeling on one knee to report, Lord Orochimaru summons you to the command post. There's something important. I'll go right away, Moonlight Han said, getting up and jumping directly off the city gate tower and down the city wall. The root ninjas immediately followed, completely ignoring Mieko's presence. TCH, they left without even saying goodbye, Mieko scoffed. Also leaving the city wall tower, in the temporary command post, Orochimaru greeted Yu Guanghan with a smile upon his arrival. Lord Han, you've arrived, Lord Orochimaru. What important matter is it? Yu Guanghan glanced around the room, and seeing only Orochimaru present, asked directly. See for yourself. Hearing this, Orochimaru smiled and tossed a scroll to Yu Guanghan. Negotiations broke down. The Sand Village refused to surrender and demanded Yu Guanghan be handed over to them. The Iwagakure launched another fierce offensive in the Land of Grass. Even the third Tsuchikage appeared, and Jiraiya was no match for him. The Iwagakure invaded the Land of Fire again, and numerous Kirigakure figures appeared on the eastern coast, with small-scale battles already underway. The three sides may have formed an alliance. The ninjas of the Land of Lois were frequently being mobilized, and the ninjas of the Hidden Cloud Village were reinforcing the border. Moonlight Han frowned deeply, finally understanding why Tsunagakure was still stubbornly refusing to surrender even in such dire straits. They still had allies. On the battlefield, the situation, initially favorable to Konoha, took a sharp turn for the worse. Lord Orochimaru, Lord Han, Hyuga Hayashi and Moonlight Hoshino entered the command post together. Seeing Moonlight Han holding the scroll, his brow furrowed, they both sighed inwardly. Lord Orochimaru, Lord Han, Inuzuka Fuji also entered, followed by several Jonin or elite Jonin from various clans. Soon, about 20 people had gathered in the command post. Lord Han, let everyone see the scroll. Seeing everyone present, Orochimaru said to Moonlight Han, his expression now serious. The situation isn't good, Moonlight Han said, handing the scroll to Moonlight Hoshino first. After reading the contents of the scroll, Moonlight Hoshino passed it to the next person, remaining silent with a very somber expression. Everyone who finished reading the scroll wore a grim expression. Anger and worry were written all over their faces. This is the village's decision and arrangements for this place. Everyone, please take a look. Do you agree or disagree? Seeing that everyone had finished reading, Orochimaru took out another scroll from his robes and handed it to Gekko-han first. Gekko-han took the scroll, opened it, and began to read carefully. Everyone's expressions became complicated as they watched Gekko-han read the scroll. After reading it, Gekko-han handed the scroll to Gekko Hoshino and said, I agree with the village's arrangements. I disagree. This is sending Han to his death. After reading the scroll, Gekko Hoshino immediately objected before anyone else could finish. Seeing Gekko Hoshino's agitation, Hyuga Hayashi snatched the scroll from Gekko Hoshino's hand, frowned after reading it, and said, I disagree too, Uncle Hoshino. Hayashi-kun, this is the village's order. We must obey, Gekko-han said. When a general is in the field, orders may not be given freely. A reassessment should be made based on the situation. This is what you told me before, Han, said Moonlight Hoshino. The most advantageous situation now is to obey the village's arrangements, said Moonlight Han. Uncle Hoshino, we should prioritize the greater good, Lord Orochimaru. Isn't there any other way? Moonlight Hoshino calmed down and asked Orochimaru. He knew that Moonlight Han was right, and he couldn't refute it. After reading the scroll, the others also frowned and looked at Orochimaru. Those who object, Raise your hands, Orochimaru said after everyone had finished reading the scroll. Upon hearing this, Moonlight Hoshino, Hyuga Hayashi, Inuzuka Fuji, and Kuramayama were the first to raise their hands, followed by 3 more. In that case, let's execute the orders on the scroll, seeing that only 7 people objected, and that Moonlight Han, the person involved, did not object, Orochimaru said seriously. Starting tomorrow, Gekko Han will lead a 50-man ninja force into the Land of Rivers to continue the attack on the Sand Village. The rest will accompany me to the Iwa Village battlefield to support Jiraiya. Han-kun, you must select the personnel tonight. Chapter 1 of today's chapter. Chapter 112 Angry News. Han, emerging from the command post, Hoshino called out to Han, but hesitated, unsure how to continue. He knew the outcome was already decided and couldn't be changed. Uncle Hoshino, Hayashi-kun, don't worry. I'm an old rival of the Sand Village ninjas. They won't find it easy to kill me, especially since they don't have many ninjas left to muster, Han said with a smile. But you two, you must take good care of yourselves. I don't want to have to pay respects to one of you when I return to the village, you brat. Is that how you curse someone to death? Hoshino feigned anger. Han-kun, please take care, Hayashi said. We're waiting to hear good news of your achievements. Don't get tired of hearing it, Han said with a laugh. I won't see you off tonight, to avoid that old geezer's nagging. Last time we went back, Heiei cried himself to sleep, and he cried until dawn. You brat, you even stole my wine and got drunk all day. Hearing this, Moonlight Hoshino roared, I don't need you to see me off tonight. You never say a nice thing. It's a farewell, not a send-off. Go cry in your own bed tonight, then I'm leaving. I still have to pick people. I definitely won't be seeing you off tonight, I'm too busy, Moonlight Han said. Get lost, okay, this time, Moonlight Han didn't choose Hayashi or anyone from the Hyuga clan, nor anyone from the Moonlight clan, not even his first lackey Kimura Takuya, not even a single Jonin, nor any ninja from any clan. He simply selected 50 commoner Chunin who knew lightning release. Moonlight Han knew that the upcoming battle would only consist of himself and the 50 ninja he had chosen. Although the Sand Village ninjas had been crippled, their numbers were still vastly different. Moreover, the Sand Village's top combat strength hadn't suffered significant losses. Raza, Pakura, and Chihaya were still alive. Night fell, and the thin moonlight cast a pale silver glow on the earth. At the gates of Kikayo Castle, 4,100 Konoha ninjas were ready to depart. That brat really didn't come to see us off. In the ranks, Moonlight Hoshino gritted his teeth, his eyes constantly searching. Unfortunately, there was no sign of Moonlight Han anywhere. Depart, with a command, the 4,100 Konoha ninjas, led by Orochimaru, quickly left Kikayo Castle and soon disappeared into the moonlit night. Don't let anyone die. If it weren't for the greater danger on my side, I really wanted to take you all with me. On the city wall in the darkness, Moonlight Han, perfectly blending into his surroundings, watched the Moonlight clan depart with the main force, praying silently until the Konoha army completely disappeared from sight. Liquid crystal robots can change their color. The suits in Terminator are also simulated by liquid crystal robots. Once he could no longer see the departing Konoha troops, Moonlight Han broke free of his blending state and leaped off the wall. He walked along the wall to a corner, closed his eyes, and waited quietly. My lord, a ninja appeared in the shadows behind Moonlight Han shortly after, calling out respectfully. Have you investigated the matter I asked you to investigate? Moonlight Han asked calmly. I have. Hearing this, the ninja in the shadows immediately whispered. The camp sent a team of 20 men to escort more than 30 wounded soldiers back to the village. Your parents, Moonlight Wenichi and Moonlight Miko, were among those who participated in the escort. I know all that. Continue, Moonlight Han said. Yes, the ninja in the shadows continued. The escort team left the camp in the morning, and on the night of the second day after leaving, they were attacked by 2 elite ninja squads from Sunagakure. A fierce battle ensued, lasting about half an hour. Almost all the escorting ninjas and the wounded were killed. Only 1 Chunin and 1 Jinan survived. Reinforcements arrived later and successfully surrounded and wiped out the 2 elite Sunagakure squads. Only a few escaped. Hearing this, Yu Guanghong closed his eyes, a gradually clearer picture of what had happened forming in his mind. He asked in a calm yet suppressed voice, I heard that the commander in charge of the battle was a temporary commander. Yes, sir, the ninja in the shadows replied. There was indeed an appointment of a temporary commander on the battlefield. Lord Orochimaru was suddenly recalled to the village for some reason, but because it was very secret and the time was short, not many people knew about it. Only some ninjas who had received missions from the command headquarters knew. The attack on the escort team occurred during this period. Who is that temporary commander? Yu Guanghan asked. The voice was suppressed. It's the Nara clan head, Nara Shikeyama, an elite Chunin, 43 years old, skilled in intellect and strategy, the ninja in the shadows replied again. He cautiously glanced at Yu Guanghan's back. His investigation was thorough, and the results sent chills down his spine more than once. Is the information accurate? Yu Guanghan asked. In that battle, among the ninjas escorting the wounded, one Junin and one Chunin survived the fight. The information came from them, the ninja in the shadows said cautiously. Yu Guanghan's suppressed voice and his answer sent a chill down his spine. What are their names? Where are they now? Yu Guanghan asked, his voice still suppressed. Hearing this, the ninja in the shadows carefully answered. The Chunin was named Goro Toyama, and he's already dead. The Junin was named Momonosuke, and after losing both legs on the battlefield, he was sent back to the village, but he was killed on the way by a Tsunagakure infiltration team. Kasugano, don't make this public. You can go back now. I will keep my promise, said Yu Guanghan. His voice was extremely suppressed. Thank you, sir, the ninja in the shadows immediately replied, not daring to linger any longer, and quickly disappeared. How dare you use my parents as bait? I will make you all pay the price. After Kasugano left, a low, suppressed voice came from Yu Guanghan's mouth. Yu Guanghan's fists were clenched so tightly that he didn't even feel his fingers piercing his palms. Silver tears streamed down his face. It turned out that when Yu Guanghan awakened the system and went to the forest for his first training camp, he sensed something amiss with his parents' deaths while chatting with everyone during a break. That's why he sent Kasugano, who happened to be considering joining him, to secretly investigate. A seemingly insignificant Chunin was just right. During the conversation, several ninjas mentioned their heroic deeds, saying that several elite sand ninja teams had infiltrated Konoha's rear, causing considerable casualties. One team tasked with evacuating wounded soldiers was almost entirely wiped out, with only 2 survivors. Gecko Han's parents died when the evacuation team attacked the wounded. Among those chatting were people who had participated in the support efforts, although these ninjas were scattered across the vicinity on missions. Now, everything is clear. Konoha's rear was overwhelmed by the sand ninja infiltration teams, so someone devised a treacherous plan. Even Orochimaru's transfer wasn't a coincidence. Orochimaru was a candidate for the 4th Hokage, favored by the 3rd Hokage. If the truth came out, such a reputation would severely damage his chances, so he was temporarily transferred. Nara Shikeyama was temporarily put in command. And Nara Shikeyama was one of the 3rd Hokage's men. After taking command, Nara Shikeyama immediately began operations. First, a group of ninjas were sent to escort the wounded, and then this information was leaked to sand ninja spies in the Konoha camp. This lured the infiltrated sand ninjas to attack. Simultaneously, a large number of ninjas were dispatched to the designated location to carry out the mission. Otherwise, how could a 2-day journey be completed in half an hour, allowing for encirclement? Moreover, to encircle and annihilate a team of 60 elite sand ninjas, the number of ninjas needed was considerable, at least 3 times that number. Several ninjas mentioned in the conversations at the time participated in the support, indicating a significant number of reinforcements, suggesting pre-prepared support or an encirclement. There simply weren't enough ninjas to carry out the mission from the rear. The death of the Junin Momonosuke was likely orchestrated by Danzo, who also supported Orochimaru's ascension to the 4th Hokage. This scheme was very likely proposed by Nara Shikeyama, making him the executor, the 3rd Hokage the one who approved, Orochimaru the observer, and Danzo the one who cleaned up the mess. Chapter 113 The Sand Village's Scorched Earth Strategy. The next day, just as dawn broke, Yu Guanghan set off with 50 lightning-released ninjas. Leaving Kikayo Castle, they reached the border of the Land of Rivers an hour later. However, just as Yu Guanghan was about to lead his lightning-released ninjas into the Land of Rivers, they were unexpectedly blocked by 3 people. Why didn't you leave? Yu Guanghan questioned, his face stern, looking at Hyuga Miyako, Hyuga Shinosuke, and Altair. Didn't you tell me yesterday that you needed a scout, so you asked me to stay? So I stayed, Hyuga Miyako replied with a smile. I don't remember going to see you, Yu Guanghan said through gritted teeth, veins throbbing on his forehead. Maybe I'm mistaken. Anyway, we're already here, so just take it as you said, Hyuga Miyako said nonchalantly. And what about you two? What are you doing here? Yu Guanghan, exasperated with Miyako, pointed at Hyuga Shinosuke and Altair. Don't tell me I called you guys here too. We're teammates in the same Jinan class, of course we should be together, Hyuga Shinosuke said with a grin. Right, Altair nodded in agreement with Hyuga Shinosuke's words. Aren't you guys being ridiculous? Who gave you permission to stay here? Acting without orders is punishable, Gecko Han said. Who said there were no orders? It was Lord Hayashi who gave the order to come here and wait for you. Not only us, but Nin and the others have already gone to scout ahead. Shinosuke revealed another piece of information that gave Gecko Han a headache. Sigh, hearing this, Gecko Han sighed helplessly. Without my orders, you are not allowed to act on your own, and you are not allowed to participate in the battle. Your first task is to protect yourselves, yes. Lord Han, hearing this, the three of them immediately said with grins. Just call me Han-kun, or Senpai. The word Lord Han always gives me a chill when it comes out of the three of you talking. Gecko Han shook his head. We're about to enter the land of rivers. Those sand ninjas are surely already waiting for us there. They've laid traps, made ambushes, and the land of rivers itself has even colluded with them. You all need to be on your guard. Moonlight Han turned and shouted to the Konoha ninjas behind him. I don't want some of you to be walking back to the village after our victory. Yes, sir. Upon hearing Moonlight Han's words, a unified and resounding voice immediately rang out. Move out, Moonlight Han shouted, leading the charge forward. Lord Han, we scouted 2 nearby villages, and both are deserted. All the food, livestock, and clothing have been taken away. The farmland and vegetable gardens near the villages have been poisoned and are withered. A large fire burned in the nearby mountain streams and forests about a week ago, almost completely destroying them. Birds and animals have vanished. We also found a river, but it's been dammed and dried up. It's been blocked for quite some time. Outside a village in the land of rivers, Hyuganin, Kazuma, Masao, and Adai reported their findings to Gecko Han, their voices filled with worry. They had wasted almost 2 weeks waiting for Tsunagakure to surrender at Kikayo Castle, enough time for Tsunagakure to do many things. Tsunagakure is playing scorched earth. They want to cut off our supplies. Hearing this, Gecko Han's lips curled into a smile. They carried very little food supplies, enough for at most 50 men for a week, mostly consisting of rations. Logically, the land of rivers, with its complex terrain, difficult roads, and rugged mountains, would indeed be easily cut off from supplies. Without supplies, and with Tsunagakure not engaging in battle, even the strongest among them would eventually starve and become desperately thirsty. They would then have to either retreat, wait for supplies, or die. However, Tsunagakure probably didn't realize that they had only brought 50 men, intending to sustain themselves through war, and thus traveled light, making them far faster than a large army with heavy baggage. They could easily advance unimpeded, crossing the land of rivers and entering the land of winds within 3 days. Did you implement a scorched earth policy in the land of rivers? Then we'll go to the land of wind. Even if you can still implement a scorched earth policy there, do you really think you can leave the people of the land of wind no way to survive? Besides, ordinary people can't travel as fast as ninjas. As long as we catch up with the retreating people, we wouldn't mind infiltrating the villages in the land of wind. At that time, Gecko Han would like to see how the Sands village and the daimyo of the land of wind would maintain the lives of those people under a scorched earth policy. What? You say I'm ruthless? You did it first. You forced us to do it. As for being besieged deep in the land of wind, Gecko Han wasn't worried at all. He was right here. How many ninjas did your Sand village have left to besiege him? How many more could your Sand village lose in its current situation? Stop reconnaissance of the surrounding area. That's a complete waste of time. Just stay vigilant. Having a plan in mind, Gecko Han immediately gave the order. I now order the troops to march at full speed, ignoring the Sand ninja still in the land of rivers, and proceed directly into the land of wind. Yes, sir. Upon hearing this, the 55 men immediately responded loudly. Led by Gecko Han, they advanced towards the land of wind at almost top speed, their objective clear, to enter the land of wind directly. Meanwhile, Danzo, the master of scapegoating, began a new journey of shifting blame. Leading his root subordinates, he continuously impersonated Sand Village, Iwagakure Village, an Omegakure village ninja in the land of rain, constantly provoking the nerves of the ninja from these 3 villages, further complicating the 4th Shinobi World War. Chapter 3 today. Chapter 114 Ballisti and Storm Matches. The Angry Wind Canyon is a massive canyon, hundreds of miles long and hundreds of meters wide, flanked by desolate, barren deserts where winds howl. Connecting the 2 sides is a massive bridge, the Angry Wind Bridge, 30 meters wide. The Angry Wind Canyon also marks the border between the land of wind and the land of rivers. Crossing this enormous canyon leads to the land of wind, and continuing 100 miles into the land of wind beyond the canyon reveals its most distinctive feature, endless yellow sand. Sir, there are 13 sand ninja on the other side, Hyuga Kazuma, his Byakugan activated, reported to Gekkohan. The sand village is indeed no longer fit for battle. Now, let us cross the Angry Wind Canyon and reach the land of wind to deliver the final, fatal blow to the sand village. At the edge of the Angry Wind Canyon, looking at the already destroyed Angry Wind Bridge, Gekkohan roared to the Konoha ninja behind him. Roar! Hearing this, the Konoha ninja roared excitedly. 4 ninjas ran out from the group carrying bundles of thick ropes and quickly secured one end of each rope to their side of the canyon. No need for all that trouble. Connect the ropes first, 1 bundle isn't long enough, Moonlight Han ordered, stopping them just as they were about to throw the other end of the ropes down into the canyon. Yes, sir, the 4 ninjas replied quickly, connecting the bundles of ropes using a special method as instructed. Once everything was done, Moonlight Han placed one hand on the ground, causing the earth to churn and 2 massive, earthen ballisti to rise from the ground before him, transforming into wooden ballisti after they were fully formed. This was Konoha village technology. Once Moonlight Han understood its principles, he automatically generated a template for this type of ballista. These ballisti could fire at a range of 400 to 500 meters, consuming 100 energy points for the main body and 5 energy points for the giant bolts. Seeing this, the 4 ninjas, without Moonlight Han's command, immediately tied one end of the rope to the crossbow bolt, then adjusted the rope to make it easier to drag the bolt when it was fired. After the 4 ninjas were ready, they went to pull the string, but the string pulled itself, and the crossbow began to rotate automatically, as if controlled by invisible hands. Bang! Bang! The sound of the string snapping rang out, and 2 bolts, whistling through the air, shot rapidly towards the other side of the canyon, trailing the connecting rope. Bang! Bang! Loud gunshots from the barrett rang out in succession, and the heads of 2 sand ninjas who rushed out from their hiding place to stop the bolts from hitting the ground exploded instantly. It's a killing machine of the ninja world. The remaining sand ninjas, seeing this, quickly retreated, not daring to show their faces. Thud! Thud! The bolts struck the canyon wall on the other side steadily, the long rope connecting the 2 sides of the canyon. The 2 ropes, one above the other, were only 1.5 meters apart, just enough for a person to hold on to one and step on the other. One small team goes ahead first. I'll support you from here, Moonlight Han commanded. Yes, sir. Following Moonlight Han's order, a team of 10 Konoha ninja immediately stepped forward, climbed the ropes, and, like monkeys, used the 2 ropes to quickly rush towards the other side of the canyon. The Konoha ninja are coming. From behind the rocks in the Gobi Desert on the other side of the canyon, a sensory ninja shouted. Earth release, earth wall. With the sensory ninja's words, earthen walls rose up across the barren Gobi Desert, and 3 sand ninja used these earthen walls as cover to rush out. Bang! 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 Gunshots rang out, the earthen walls were pierced, and the sand ninja behind them tumbled and fell. Barrett armor-piercing rounds could penetrate 30mm thick steel plates head-on in ordinary bunkers. Earthen walls were no problem at all. Damn it! Seeing 3 more comrades fall, the remaining sand ninja hiding behind the rocks pounded them, gritting their teeth in despair. The killing machine of the ninja world was far beyond their capabilities. We can't stop the Konoha ninja from coming. Fire signal flares. Black and red, the sand ninja leader sighed, watching the 10 Konoha ninja who had reached the other side of the canyon. Second team, seeing the first team of Konoha ninja already on the other side of the canyon, Gekkohan gave the order again. With a command, the second team of Konoha ninja climbed the ropes and quickly rushed across the canyon. Boom! 2 explosions rang out in the sky on the other side of the canyon, black and red smoke billowing 200 meters into the air. It seems the sand village has a backup plan. Everyone, prepare for battle. Looking at the 2 colored smoke in the sky, Gecko Han commanded, leading the third team of Konoha ninja towards the other side of the canyon. A thunderous rumble of hooves echoed from afar, as loud as the roar of waves. From a distance, a cloud of dust, like a storm, swept into the canyon. Even from several miles away, the ground trembled slightly, and the sand and gravel began to tremble. Lord Han, it's a herd of cattle and horses. There are countless of them, Hyuga Masao reported, his face pale with fear. Lord Han, those cattle and horses all have explosive tags on them. Some of them also have wooden barrels on them, Hyuga Kazuma reported anxiously to Gecko Han. His expression also changed drastically. Tsunagakure is really going all out, Gecko Han sneered upon hearing this. These cattle and horses are the mainstay of transportation in the fields and on the roads. In places like the Land of Wind and the Land of Rivers, they are vital resources, even more important than people in some aspects. Tsunagakure's reckless actions have essentially jeopardized the very foundation of the lives of the people of both countries. After the war, both the Land of Wind and the Land of Rivers will be in dire straits, and may even face annihilation. However, what does this have to do with me? Moonlight Han said with a cold laugh, placing his hands on the ground. Multi-storm mech. As Moonlight Han's hands touched the ground, the rocks on the ground continuously bulged, molded, and metallicized, eventually transforming into 5 strange, humanoid giant machines. Storm mech, from the game world, Counter-Strike Online. A semi-humanoid mech, 6 meters tall, weighing 45 tons, using both hydraulic and jet propulsion. Equipped with 2 3-barrel 20mm rotary machine guns, with a rate of fire of 450 rounds per second. It also has a shoulder-mounted 9-tube small rocket launcher. The Storm Mech consumes 12,000 energy points to manifest, each bullet consumes 1 energy point, and each rocket consumes 50 energy points. Note that the Storm Mech's cockpit is now invisible. It's not like the unprotected cockpit you see in the game. Originally, I wanted to build a prism tower. Chapter 115 Scorpion of the Red Sand. Rat-a-tat-tat, gunfire erupted like firecrackers. Under Moonlight Han's control, 10 bullet trails rained down on the charging herd of cattle and horses. The 20mm rotating mechanism easily engaged the surging target 2 kilometers away. In the distance, the charging cattle and horses fell one after another. Their bodies were riddled with holes the size of footballs or even wash basins, many of them even blown apart by bullets. Purple smoke rose from the herd, the wood on their backs breaking, releasing large amounts of poisonous mist. However, this poisonous mist wouldn't kill them instantly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, rockets, trailing long plumes of flame, flew from the shoulders of the Storm Mech, arcing rapidly towards the charging herd. Boom, the rockets landed, violent explosions echoing through the herd, flames engulfing patch after patch. Amazing, Hyuga Masao exclaimed, stunned, as he watched the 5 Storm Mechs unleash their power simultaneously. Not only him, but all the Konoha ninjas were dumbfounded. At this moment, they understood even more deeply the terror of the ninja world's killing machine. Quantity was utterly useless against Moonlight Han. At this moment, they had no doubt that even if 1,000,000 people charged at them, Moonlight Han could wipe them all out. Lord Han is mighty, a loud shout rang out behind Moonlight Han, as a Konoha ninja, his blood boiling with excitement, shouted. Lord Han is mighty. The next moment, led by this Konoha ninja, all the Konoha ninjas instantly transformed into devoted fans, shouting loudly with overwhelming momentum. With Moonlight Han, this war was a foregone conclusion. No, as long as Moonlight Han was there, all future wars would be without suspense. Hearing the excited shouts behind him, Moonlight Han smiled. The Storm Mech was a deadly weapon in that game. Its initial purpose was to slaughter and cleanse on complex battlefields. The endless hordes of zombies cemented its reputation as a battlefield weapon of mass destruction. Grinning in the desolate Gobi Desert, on a broken rock, Rosa put down his binoculars, his teeth grinding together. Lord Rosa, what's next? Junin, also putting down his binoculars, cautiously inquired. The new battle plan had failed again. They had originally planned to use the number of cattle and horses to approach the Konoha ninjas, then detonate the explosive tags and poisonous fog on them. However, the Moonlight Warriors' killing speed exceeded their expectations. Even the massive herd of cattle and horses couldn't reach within 500 meters of the Konoha ninjas. The loss of nearly 100,000 head of livestock was enough to shake the very foundations of the people's livelihoods in the Land of Wind and the Land of Rivers. Retreat. Now, The only way to stop him is through the deserts of the land of wind, Rosa said in a low voice, turning and leaving. Seeing this, nearly 100 sand ninja followed Rosa in a dejected retreat. Lord Han is mighty. Lord Han, I want to have your babies. Lord Han, I want to have your babies too. Nini, if you dare say that again, I'll kill you. Fine, I'll say it. I'm not afraid of you. Lord Han, I want to have your babies. When the last charging bull stopped 500 meters away, another cheering shout erupted behind Moonlight Han, and all 55 Konoha ninja were flushed with excitement. Put on your gas masks and protective suits. We'll continue in 10 minutes. Hearing the strange voices behind him, especially the loudest ones from Hyuga, Nini and Miyako, Moonlight Han shook his head and ignored them. With a wave of his hand, 55 full sets of protective suits materialized on the ground and were distributed. Although the battle was over, the area ahead was now filled with poisonous fog. It was a pity that the carcasses of those cattle and horses were no longer edible. 10 minutes later, Moonlight Han led the Konoha ninjas over the mountain of cattle and horses' corpses. Yes, a mountain of corpses. The piles of animal carcasses covered the ground, reaching heights of 5 or 6 meters. These animals had been manipulated by the ninjas using Jinjutsu, and not a single one had managed to escape. The poison doesn't seem to work on him. Can I beat him? Should I even make a move? If I fail, can I escape from him? Sasori of the Red Sand was now contemplating a crucial question. It concerned his dreams and his life. Ever since Moonlight Han rose to fame, Sasori had been watching him closely. Moonlight Han's strength, his killing prowess, and especially his bloodline limit that could transform into powerful weapons. In his eyes, Moonlight Han was the perfect material for creating human puppets. Immune to both fire and lightning ninjutsu, immune to Jinjutsu, possessing superhuman healing abilities, powerful reconnaissance capabilities, extremely fast attack speed, extremely long attack range, and a vast attack area, capable of instantly unleashing powerful bloodline limit ninjutsu without hand seals. This was the Gecko Han he knew. His formidable battlefield combat abilities far surpassed any current ninja, even the Kage of various villages. To successfully kill Gecko Han and obtain his body, he had gathered all of Gecko Han's intelligence, making thorough preparations in every aspect, even utilizing his spies hidden in Sunagakure, and deliberately choosing this moment to arrive. He was brimming with confidence, especially since the third Kazakage under his command could counter Gecko Han. However, a very serious problem now faced Sasori of the Red Sand. Despite his high regard for Gecko Han's strength, his thorough preparations, and the perfect timing, everything seemed ready. Gecko Han's power still exceeded his expectations. He lacked confidence in killing Gecko Han, and even lacked sufficient confidence in escaping from him. Watching the boy stroll leisurely through the poisonous fog, completely unprotected, Sasori of the Red Sand, hidden beneath the carcasses of cattle and horses, hesitated. Facing Moonlight Han was a gamble with a very low probability of success. Losing could mean losing his life. Although Moonlight Han had just slaughtered 100,000 cattle and horses in one fell swoop, already greatly depleted, the odds of victory were still slim. Iron Sand's world technique, however, when Moonlight Han was within 10 meters of him, Sasori of the Red Sand couldn't resist the intense temptation and desire within him. The third Kazakage's puppet, which he had prepared beforehand, made its move. Black iron sand erupted like a volcanic eruption, bursting through the carcasses of cattle and horses, and coiled towards Moonlight Han like several dragons. Crack crack crack, hundreds of red puppets surged wildly from the unfurled scrolls, wielding their weapons and rushing towards Moonlight Han. Lord Han, be careful. Anxious shouts rang out from all around as Moonlight Han's ninjas rushed towards him, wanting to provide support. But it was too late. Everything happened too suddenly. The storm mech is one type, there's also the berserker mech, the heavy cannon mech, and later, the mechas from Pacific Rim and EVA. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 Scorpion, damn it. That was too hasty. Black iron sand, looking at the black iron sand rising from all sides and sweeping towards him, along with a horde of puppets rushing towards him, Moonlight Han sneered. If it were before, he would have truly feared this black iron sand, as it severely countered his abilities. But now, he was completely unafraid. Everyone, Retreat from the area of these corpses, Megatron. Moonlight Han ordered the Konoha ninjas who wanted to support him to leave, while his body transformed, metal rapidly churning and assembling on his body. Even being entangled by the iron sand couldn't stop him. In the blink of an eye, the original Moonlight Han had transformed into a giant robot standing 12 meters tall. Megatron lightly exerted force with his arm, and the mechanical power easily broke free from the surrounding iron sand. The next moment, even more iron sand swirled around him. Unfortunately, facing even more iron sand, Megatron, having completed his transformation, simply leaped into a Cybertronian fighter, flying hundreds of meters in the blink of an eye. Until then, the surrounding iron sand hadn't even touched him. Damn it! What a hasty decision. Seeing Megatron turn and swoop back after taking off, Sasori cursed and decisively fled through the prepared tunnel. He abandoned all the puppets he had released, except for the third Kazukage's puppet, which he managed to retrieve. What? Why not continue fighting? He could only passively take hits. What was the point of fighting? Buzz buzz buzz. A buzzing sound filled the sky, but it wasn't the sound of a propeller, it was Megatron's large-caliber aircraft machine gun firing. PFFT PFFT PFFT. Crimson bullets fell at incredible speed, landing on the carcasses of cattle and horses, sending up clouds of blood and flesh. The puppets were blasted to pieces. Whoosh whoosh, a 500-kilogram high-powered aerial bomb rained down, and Megatron rose again and flew away. Boom boom boom. As Megatron flew away, the aerial bomb landed, and a terrifying explosion erupted on the ground. The carcasses of cattle and horses were blasted high into the air, the flames of the explosion engulfing an area of 30 to 40 meters around, and the shockwaves scattering hundreds of meters of carcasses. The puppets also vanished completely in the explosion. Whoosh, Megatron returned to the sky with a whooshing sound. He transformed back into his humanoid battle form and landed on the ground. 4 Gatling guns on his shoulders aimed at the surroundings, and his hands transformed into hand cannons. If the enemy hadn't lacked a heat source, Moonbeam would have already attacked. Time passed second by second, but there was no movement from the pile of corpses, and the scattered puppets did not reassemble. Are they dead, or did they escape? 10 minutes passed, and still no movement. Megatron finally couldn't resist and began to search the corpses on the ground. Damn it, they just threw a punch and ran away. These young people have no sportsmanship. Looking at the tunnel on the ground, and nameless rage rose above Moonlight Han's head. If gasoline didn't also require energy points to exchange, and if he hadn't wasted 10 minutes, Sasori of the Red Sand would already be gone. Moonlight Han really wanted to piss on gasoline like Bumblebee. Let's continue. After finding the retreating Konoha ninja, Moonlight Han transformed back into human form, his face grim. Seeing Moonlight Han's gloomy face, no one dared to speak. Hyuga Kazuma and the others had already seen them in the distance. They guessed the enemy had escaped. Directly attacking is too dangerous. Let's post a mission on the black market. In the desolate Gobi Desert, Sasori of the Red Sand, disguised in camouflage, entered the territory of the Land of Rivers. Lord Han, the village is deserted. Everything has been taken away, and the water source has been poisoned. Their retreat has been buried by the sand. Amidst the swirling sands, Hyuga Kazuma, returning from reconnaissance, reported to Gecko Han. The Sand Village has indeed implemented a scorched earth policy in the Land of Wind. Hearing this, Gecko Han nodded, pondering. Should I add fuel to the fire? Biological radar. Gecko Han clapped his hands together and closed his eyes, activating the biological radar. Everyone, follow me westward. The next moment, Gecko Han opened his eyes and loudly commanded, leading his Konoha ninja to quickly head west. In the sands, over 500 civilians from the Land of Wind pushed carts and carts, forming a long human line as they walked through the desert. Koji-kun, Maki, the Konoha ninjas are catching up. They're about 5 li away. A ninja came running up from the rear of the group, shouting loudly. Damn it, how did the Konoha ninjas find us? Hearing the running ninjas shout, the dozen or so sand ninjas in the group immediately paled. They were ninjas responsible for relocating civilians, and to avoid being caught by the Konoha ninjas, they had taken a long detour. They hadn't expected to be tracked down by the Konoha ninjas. The Konoha ninjas are catching up. What do we do, mommy? The civilians panicked, and seeing the flustered adults, the children began to cry. Everyone, gather at the bottom of the sand dune. A loud shout rang out at the front of the civilian group. It was the voice of the Jonin in charge of the relocation mission. Everyone, Gather at the bottom of the sand dune with all your belongings. Don't let the Konoha ninjas see us. We will fight the Konoha ninjas to the end, don't worry." Hearing the Jonin's words, the remaining sand ninjas hesitated for a moment before shouting back. Hearing the ninjas' shouts, the civilians began carrying their supplies down the sand dune and gathered together. "Baki, don't forget what Lord Raza said. We can't let the sacrifices of our fallen comrades be in vain." A Chunin patted the still hesitant Baki on the shoulder. "We absolutely cannot let the Konoha ninjas get even a single bit of supplies, otherwise all our efforts and sacrifices will be in vain. Tsunagakure, and even the entire land of wind, will cease to exist." Hearing this, Baki, who had been hesitating, remembered Raza's words, and a resolute glint flashed in his eyes. 20 minutes later, Lord, what? Kazuma looked at the blood-stained corpses and the burning fire at the foot of the sand dune, turning his gaze to Yu Guanghan. The others also looked at Yu Guanghan. No one had expected Tsunagakure to be so ruthless. These were all civilians from their own land of wind. Record this in detail. Continue towards Tsunagakure. "I'll find another way to get supplies," Yu Guanghan said, turning and leaving the sand dune. "It now seems impossible to steal food from the civilians of the Wind Kingdom. The only option is to fly elsewhere to obtain food." Chapter 3. Chapter 117, Weighing and Offering Bounty. In a gold exchange located beneath a toilet in the land of rivers. "Who is the target? His information, and what are your demands?" the middle-aged man behind the counter asked the hunched-over middle-aged man in front of him, his face expressionless. "Moonlight Man of Konoha, I want his corpse." Hearing this, the hunched-over middle-aged man in front of the counter said, handing over a thick stack of intelligence reports. Hearing that it was Moonlight Man, the staff member paused for a moment, not even looking at the intelligence provided by Sasori, and continued with the formulaic question, "How much bounty are you offering?" 100 million, Sasori said. 100 million. Hearing this, the staff member nodded and said, "Which part of his corpse do you want?" "If it's flesh, the total weight cannot exceed 5 kilograms. If it's blood, it cannot exceed 3 kilograms. If it's internal organs, it cannot exceed 2 kilograms, and it may be reduced later." "Which do you choose?" "What do you mean?" Sasori asked. "Before you, there were other people with bounties on Moonlight Man's corpse," the staff member said calmly. Upon hearing this, Sasori paused for a moment, then asked, "What's his total bounty right now?" "It's currently 3.5 billion, plus your 100 million, that makes 3.6 billion, the staff member replied, handing Sasori a certificate. "I'll come back to add to the bounty later," Sasori said, taking the certificate before leaving the underground exchange. "Another one with an increased bounty. Everyone wants that person's complete body, who wouldn't? That's the ninja world's killing machine. Countless people are going crazy for that bloodline limit." After Sasori left, several masked wandering ninjas in the exchange started discussing amongst themselves. "Why don't we give it a try? That's 3.6 billion. If we put it up for auction, it might even go up. We could squander that much in several lifetimes," one of the wandering ninjas said. "You should just go to sleep. Killing the ninja world's killing machine, the one universally acknowledged most terrifying ninja, might be possible in your dreams." His companion shook his head. "Stop dreaming. This is reality. The ninja world's killing machine. You think that title is just for show? He's killed more ninjas than we've killed civilians combined. The 5 great nations have a countless people who want to kill him, but is he dead? A bounty of 3.6 billion shi. If you were someone we could kill, those who could afford the bounty would have killed him long ago. Why would they bother posting a bounty by weight? Save it," another companion said. "We can't kill the ninja world's killing machine, but the Moonlight Clan has others, right?" the wandering ninja who spoke first said. His words made the other wandering ninja's eyes light up. What did those who put a bounty on Moonlight Han want most? Besides Moonlight Han's death, it was Moonlight Han's bloodline limit, otherwise, they wouldn't have put a bounty by weight. In the sky, Moonlight Han, transformed into Megatron, flew rapidly, quickly locating over 300 people from the land of wind migrating, guided by his bioradar. These people were currently cooking in the desert. They're eating, perfect timing for a hot meal. Seeing this, Moonlight Han immediately flew downwards. Just before landing, the fuselage tumbled, transforming into Megatron in human form before the stunned eyes of the Wind Country civilians and the ninja leading them. "Hand over half of your food and water, or die here." A fierce, mechanical voice rang out from Megatron's mouth. and the massive hand cannon on his arm was aimed at the 5 sand ninjas who were eating together in the group. Boom! Without giving any of them a chance to speak, a single shot blasted, sending sands flying high into the air. The 5 sand ninjas eating together were all blasted high into the air. Even if they weren't dead, they were severely injured. Seeing this scene, the civilians of the Wind Country trembled in fear, and many women screamed in terror. They had never seen anything like it before. Those high and mighty ninjas hadn't even had a chance to resist. Did you hear me? Hand over half of your food and water immediately, or die right here. I'm taking all the food and water. Seeing these civilians from the land of wind trembling without moving, Megatron spoke again in a cold and fierce electronic voice. Yes, sir. This time, the trembling people finally reacted, rushing to their bags and quickly finding large amounts of food and water bags filled with water. They carefully piled them all in front of Megatron, watching him cautiously. Take what you have and get out of here right now. If you don't disappear within 5 minutes, you'll die here. Megatron. Moonlighton is an incarnation of Megatron, so we'll use Megatron to represent him. Other robots will be represented this way as well, for better immersion. Continued. Yes, yes, yes. Hearing this, the civilians immediately nodded repeatedly, hurriedly grabbing their belongings and running away. Many even abandoned large amounts of their bags, afraid of being too slow. Lord Wan, don't speak, run with us. An old woman grabbed a young girl's hand and forcibly pulled her along to escape. At the same time, a woman beside her quickly removed the girl's headband and secretly put it away. After the civilians of the Land of Wind had fled, Moonlighton deactivated his Megatron form and reverted to his original form. Ignoring the few critically wounded and dying Sand Ninja, he took out several sealing scrolls and sealed food and water inside. Then he found a place to sit down and began eating the leftovers from the Land of Wind civilians. After eating and drinking his fill, Moonlighton transformed back into Megatron, becoming a Cybertronian fighter and flying away. The mission failed. Sand Village is finished. The Land of Wind is finished. On the yellow sand, tears streamed down the face of a critically wounded and dying Sand Ninja. So much had been sacrificed, so many lives lost, and now it was all over. Moonlighton had obtained the supplies, a large amount of supplies, enough to launch a direct attack on Sand Village. All their efforts had been in vain. As the sky gradually turned red in his eyes, the Sand Ninja trembled as he pulled a kunai from his robes, then closed his eyes and plunged it into his own chest. Note, the plot of this book follows the protagonist. Chapter 118 Sharing Blessings. Everyone, stop. In the desert, Yu Guang'an, leading his group, waved for everyone to halt. A monk, looking at the figure appearing on the distant hills, especially the head reflecting the desert sun, Yu Guang'an frowned, already guessing who it was. Lord Han, it's an old monk, Hyuga Kazuma, having activated his Byakugan, quickly told Yu Guang'an after the group stopped. I know, Yu Guang'an said, then ordered everyone, retreat 10 miles immediately. No one is allowed to approach unless a green smoke bomb is launched, even if a battle breaks out here. If a red smoke bomb is launched, retreat immediately along the way you came. Hearing this, everyone's expressions turned serious. Lord Han, who is that? Is he very powerful? Miyako asked worriedly. Bunboku, the Jinchuriki of the one-tailed beast from Sunagakure, and he can perfectly control the one tail, Yu Guang'an said solemnly. Facing them was the Jinchuriki of the one-tailed beast, and a perfect one at that, and this was the desert of the Land of Wind. Jinchuriki? What's that? Miyako asked, puzzled. In fact, not only her, but most of the Konoha ninjas led by Gekko Han didn't even know what a Jinchuriki was. The Sand Village's ultimate weapon, Gekko Han said solemnly. Now, retreat immediately. If you stay here, you'll distract me. Yes. Hearing this, everyone reluctantly retreated, while Gekko Han walked towards the approaching Bunpyoku. Soon, Gekko Han met Bunpyoku, a kind-faced old monk dressed in ordinary black and white robes. Unlike Gaara, the one-tailed Jinchuriki, Bunpyoku had a very good relationship with Shukoku, so he didn't have the heavy dark circles under his eyes like Gaara. Amitabha, this humble monk is Bunpyoku. Would this young benefactor be willing to sit down and listen to a few words from this humble monk? Upon meeting, Bunpyoku first bowed with his hands clasped, smiling kindly at Gekko Han. Please sit, master, Moonlighton said, clasping his hands in return, and sat down on the yellow sand. Master, you've come to persuade me, haven't you? Yes, Bunpyoku nodded with a smile, and after sitting down, asked, "Why are you so determined to defeat Tsunagakure? Why be determined? Isn't war just a matter of life and death? One side wins, and the other loses. Besides, I'm acting on the village's orders." "The village's orders are to completely defeat Tsunagakure," Moonlight Han said with a smile. "Tsunagakure has already been defeated," Bunpyuku said. "The village is now powerless to attack. Konoha has defeated Tsunagakure, and Tsunagakure poses no threat to Konoha now, but Tsunagakure hasn't surrendered." "The Land of Wind hasn't surrendered either," Moonlight Han said. "Moreover, whether to stop the attack isn't up to me, it's up to the High Command on both sides. Without the surrender document, the war isn't over, but, in reality, it's over, isn't it?" Bunpyuku said. "Only if you leave with your men will there be no more war between Tsunagakure and Konoha. Master, don't try to fool me just because I'm young. I've been on the battlefield for a long time, and I know that deceit and treachery are commonplace there. Tsunagakure has already done something like that once." Upon hearing this, Yu Guanghan said with a smile. "A monk never lies," Bunpyuku said with a smile. "I'm just telling you the truth, young benefactor. 80% of Tsunagakure's ninjas have died, and less than 3,000 remain. Enough only to protect the civilians in the village. They no longer have the strength to fight. If that's the case, why does Tsunagakure refuse to surrender? Can't Master Bunpyuku see that? A monk doesn't lie, but he can choose what he says." Upon hearing this, Yu Guanghan said with a smile. "Tsunagakure wanted to wait until Konoha was defeated, then tear a piece of flesh from Konoha and the Land of Fire. If they surrender now, they'll have no chance if Konoha is defeated later. Since Tsunagakure is already powerless to fight, why don't I push harder and make them surrender completely?" Hearing this, Bunpyuku paused for a moment, then said, "If Tsunagakure surrenders, it will probably cease to exist." And Tsunagakure's continued existence is, well, he knew perfectly well why Tsunagakure refused to surrender, and what they were fighting so hard for. If Tsunagakure surrenders now, they'll truly have nothing left. Not only will the sacrifice of tens of thousands of ninjas be meaningless, but Tsunagakure's surrender also means abandoning their alliance with Iwagakure, and they might even face invasion from Iwagakure in the Land of Earth. Tsunagakure can't withstand another major power's attack. Such a weakened Tsunagakure is a piece of cake that Iwagakure can easily grab. The future of Tsunagakure will be filled with hardship. I am a Konoha citizen, I don't concern myself with these matters," Gekkohan interrupted Bunpyuku. "Master, I only care about things related to Konoha. I don't care about other matters concerning Tsunagakure, because Konoha and Tsunagakure are enemies. Tsunagakure's refusal to surrender is of no benefit to Konoha, only a potential threat. Even if it brings future benefits, it doesn't now. And who can predict the future? Besides, in my heart, victory will surely belong to Konoha. As long as Tsunagakure doesn't surrender, I will not stop my attacks and slaughter, even if it means completely annihilating Tsunagakure. Master Bunpyuku, instead of trying to persuade me, you should think about how to persuade those stubborn people of Tsunagakure to surrender sooner, so they can preserve some of their strength." With that, Gekkohan rose and left. Watching Gekkohan leave, Bunpyuku fell silent again. He didn't choose to act, even though he was prepared to. Shukaku told him that if he acted now, Bunpyuku would die. His aged body couldn't withstand another tailed beast transformation, while Gekkohan wouldn't, even though this was the desert, Shukaku's home turf. If he couldn't kill Gekkohan, his sacrifice would be meaningless, and losing Shukaku would make Tsunagakure's future even more difficult. Ultimately, Bunpyuku left, heading towards Tsunagakure. He couldn't persuade Gekkohan, so he could only try to persuade the higher-ups of Tsunagakure. If the war continued, Tsunagakure would not only gain nothing but also be destroyed. Continue. Destination, Tsunagakure. Gekkohan didn't launch a signal flare but went directly to his men. Seeing Gekkohan return, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. After leaving, they learned from those who knew what tailed beasts and Jinchuriki were. "Han-kun, what did you talk about with that old monk?" Miyako asked curiously. "That old monk advised me to abandon the attack, but I refused," Gekkohan said with a smile. "I thought there would be a fierce battle, but there wasn't." Chapter 1. Chapter 119. The Hidden Sands Village finally surrenders. 5 kilometers from Tsunagakure, the village's high walls were already visible in the desert. "Han-kun, are you really going to do this, in the yellow sand?" Miyako looked at the 120 75mm mountain guns lined up in 3 rows ahead and asked Gekkohan with concern. The other Konoha ninjas also looked at Gekko-han with worry, wanting to dissuade him. Why not? They coerced civilians from the Land of Fire at Kikayo Castle. Over 30,000 people died in that battle. Why can't I do the same? There's no explicit rule among the 5 great nations, and they've done it without a care in the world. Hearing this, Gekko-han said with a cold smile. Sir, but if word gets out that you've intentionally harmed a large number of civilians, it will damage your reputation, a Konoha ninja said. They didn't care about the civilians from the Land of Wind, but they genuinely didn't want Gekko-han to be branded as a massacrer. Alright, I'll give those civilians some time to take refuge. Whether the Sand Village ninjas allow them to take refuge or not is none of my business. I'll launch the attack in an hour. Even if the Sand Village ninjas use this as an excuse, it's because they forced civilians to participate in a war between ninjas. They have a precedent for this, said Moonlight Han. Besides, if they insist on doing that, we can't just not attack. Lord Han, someone from Sand Village has come out with a white flag, reported Hyuga Kazuma, who had been scouting. They've surrendered. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other, all relieved. TCH, they only shed tears when they see the coffin. Moonlight Han scoffed and sat on a mountain cannon to wait. 10 minutes later, Moonlight Han finally saw the people sent by Sand Village, Yakira, the Sand Village's strongest ninja who posed the least threat to him, and 4 other ninjas, all middle-aged, carrying 4 large backpacks. Sand Village was indeed deserted, even the delegation consisted of only 5 people. Yakira, upon arriving, saw the 120 cannons prepared by Gekko-han and felt relieved. Although it was his first time seeing them in person, he had seen pictures of them and heard about them from Raza and some Sand Village ninja. If they had waited for Gekko-han's attack before surrendering, Tsunagakure would undoubtedly have been reduced to ruins. Yakira, this is our 3rd meeting, Gekko-han said calmly, looking at Yakira. Since you've come to surrender, it seems you won't become the 4th Kazekage. Whether I become Kazekage or not, I will still be contributing to my village, Yakira replied with a smile. Mr. Han has returned with a great victory this time, and he is very likely to become the 4th Hokage of Konoha, the youngest Hokage. I am not a candidate for the 4th Hokage, Gekko-han said with a shake of his head and a smile. Let's put aside the flattery for now and get to the point. Upon hearing this, Yakira's expression immediately turned serious. He straightened up and said, Tsunagakure is willing to surrender, and I will represent Tsunagakure to sign the surrender agreement in Konoha. Before the surrender agreement is signed, we request that Konoha suspend its attack on Tsunagakure. With that, Yakira bowed deeply to Gekko-han and presented him with an agreement. This wasn't a surrender agreement, but a surrender application, already signed by all the current high-ranking officials of Tsunagakure. Once Gekko-han signed his name, Konoha would have to halt its attack on Tsunagakure. Unless the Tsunagakure ninja started another war. If it weren't for this war, we might have become friends. Gekko-han straightened up, took the surrender application from Yakira, quickly read it, and, finding no problems, signed his name. He then put the surrender application away. Report back immediately. Tsunagakure has submitted a surrender application, Gekko-han instructed a ninja beside him. Yes. Upon hearing this, the ninja immediately responded loudly and went to release the ninja hawk. Everyone laughed happily, and some even shed tears. The war with Tsunagakure was finally coming to an end. I don't think Tsunagakure would welcome an executioner like me as a guest. If you don't have anything else to prepare, let's set off, said Gekko-han. Everything is ready, we can leave at any time, Yakira replied, looking in the direction of Tsunagakure. Lord Tsuchikage, Lord Huangtu, Tsunagakure has surrendered. 2 days ago, Yakira submitted a surrender application to Gekko-han and appointed Yakira to go to Konoha to sign the surrender agreement. In the command headquarters of Iwagakure in the Land of Grass, an Iwagakure Anbu reported the intelligence he had obtained to the 2 people in the command headquarters. Crack crack. Upon hearing this, Huangtu clenched his fist, making a cracking sound. Damn Tsunagakure, they surrendered so quickly. It's normal that they couldn't hold out. After all, they were attacking that killing machine of the ninja world, said the 3rd Tsuchikage, Anoki. Fortunately, Kirigakure has already started a war with Konoha, and Kumagakure will be making its move soon. However, after Tsunagakure surrenders, the most likely scenario is that that killing machine of the ninja world will be transferred to support Jiraiya, said Huangtu. The arrival of Gekko-han means that they will begin to suffer heavy casualties. Roshi and Han will be on the battlefield soon. If Gekko-han appears, then we will have no choice but to break the established rules, said Inoki. Since they cannot use ordinary ninjas to fight Gecko Han, they will have to use the tailed beasts. Also, prepare for war against Tsunagakure, the third Tsuchikage, Inoki continued. Father, I don't think this is appropriate, Wang Tu objected. Yu Guanghan is not easy to deal with. If Yu Guanghan appears on this battlefield, our morale will drop significantly. Moreover, everyone is currently focused on Konoha. Although Tsunagakure is no longer our ally after surrendering, if we suddenly attack Tsunagakure, the current united front of the 4 great ninja villages might be disrupted. Then let's abandon this objective for now, but we must still be prepared. Upon hearing this, Inoki thought carefully and nodded. He said, also, before Yu Guanghan arrives, reduce the intensity of our attacks on Konoha. Also, I won't be on the battlefield recently. Spread the word that I've temporarily returned to the village. Yes, Wang Tu replied. Ye Kang, do you know Laolin? In the vast expanse of yellow sand, under the sand dunes, Yu Guanghan, who had stopped to rest, asked Ye Kang seemingly casually. Laolin has been destroyed. Upon hearing this, Ye Kang paused for a moment, carefully observing Yu Guanghan's expression before speaking. Destroyed? How is that possible? Upon hearing this, Moonlight Tan asked in astonishment. If he remembered correctly, Laolin couldn't possibly have been destroyed at this time. Ichiriko Ramen hadn't even opened yet, and Minato Namikaze hadn't undertaken any missions related to Laolin. Laolin was indeed destroyed. It must have happened about 2 months ago. No one escaped, everyone disappeared. We only found out about a month ago, Ye Kang said, his gaze carefully observing Moonlight Tan's facial expression again. Looks like I need to find an opportunity to go to Laolin. Hearing this, Moonlight Han remained silent, not asking Ye Kang any further questions. He had already decided that after returning to the village, he must find an opportunity to go to Laolin, preferably to investigate the reasons for Laolin's destruction in the Dragon Vein. Chapter 2. Chapter 120 Hokage Candidates, the capable should do more. After a 2-week journey, Gecko Han finally stood before the gates of Konoha. For the returning hero, the third Hokage, of course, greeted him with the usual formalities, though this time only about 50 people were welcomed. Danzo was not currently in Konoha, but was still stirring up trouble in the Land of Rain with his subordinates, stirring up conflict between Iwagakure, Omegakure, and the Akatsuki. If Gecko Han's guess was correct, Danzo was likely secretly sowing discord among the 3, escalating the conflict, while simultaneously allying with Omegakure against Iwagakure. The surrender of Tsunagakure went smoothly. Negotiations on all surrender terms were completed within 3 days, and Pakura signed the agreement readily. Simultaneously, Tsunagakure reallied with Konoha. After surrendering to Konoha, their alliances with other ninja villages had broken down, and now Tsunagakure could only seek Konoha's support. A week passed quickly. Having just returned from the battlefield and not needing to do any missions, Moonlight Han found himself with nothing to do each day. He either practiced swordsmanship or physical techniques at home, or sunbathed to replenish his energy points and refine his chakra, or trained in the Moonlight Gale sword technique. His days were uneventful, yet he was restless and itching for more. The reason for Moonlight Han's restlessness was the change in his kill count 119,527. Title, Slaughtered 100,000, 119,527. This meant that even the livestock he had killed were counted in his kill count. He had already broken through the 550 energy point limit, and could even break through again to reach the storage limit of 500 million energy points. Having met the upgrade requirements, Moonlight Han naturally wanted to upgrade as soon as possible. He currently had 3.8 million energy points, meaning an upgrade was practically within reach. The best and fastest way, of course, was the old method. Originally, Yu Guanghan wanted to steal electricity at night to upgrade the power plant as quickly as possible, but since his return, 5 Anbu and 30 ninjas had been guarding the power plant day and night. Furthermore, the third Hokage had given Yu Guanghan a verbal warning, leaving him with no choice but to give up and sit at home thinking about it. His methods of stealing electricity at night changed from going directly to the power plant to cutting power lines on the street. During this month, besides the surrender of Tsunagakure, another event occurred. A new voice emerged in Konoha. A voice supporting Yu Guanghan to become the fourth Hokage was growing louder, and many of those speaking were ninjas who had come from the battlefield. Mentioning Yu Guanghan, they were all filled with admiration. His immense strength, superb healing skills, great achievements on the battlefield, His compassionate nature towards his subordinates, and his fearsome reputation among enemies, all these factors contributed to his reputation. Many even believe that Yu Guanghan would ultimately end the Fourth Shinobi World War. However, Yu Guanghan, who spent his days sunbathing and sleeping soundly, only sneaking out at night, was currently unaware of this. In the Hokage's office, Yu Guanghan rubbed his head, looking at the mission scroll that was almost dragging on the floor. Hokage-sama, while I admit I'm capable, excellent, and powerful, you're overestimating me. 23 missions at once. All in different locations, the difficulty is just too much, Yu Guanghan complained immediately after reading the missions. Seeing Yu Guanghan's complaint, the third Hokage looked troubled. The capable should do more. 80% of the village's ninjas are on the battlefield, and we are severely lacking in manpower for other missions. But we can't just let the bandits and robbers around the village run rampant, we need to clean them up, otherwise it will significantly impact the village's economy and people's livelihoods, but this is too much? And I think the battlefield is where I'm truly needed, Yu Guanghan said, shaking his head. Han, you've never let everyone down, and I believe you won't this time either. I believe you can overcome this difficulty, the third Hokage said. As long as you complete this mission, I will agree to your qualification as a candidate for the fourth Hokage. Huh? A Hokage candidate? Upon hearing this, Gekko Han looked at the third Hokage with a completely bewildered expression. The fourth Hokage was a figure destined to die upon taking the position. This kid doesn't even know that. Seeing Gekko Han's bewildered expression, the third Hokage immediately wanted to slap himself. He immediately understood. The calls for Gekko Han to become a candidate for the fourth Hokage weren't created by Gekko Han himself, but rather spontaneously by his supporters in the Hyuga clan. The person in question was completely unaware, it was the Hyuga clan that recommended him. He didn't doubt this. After all, since Gekko Han returned, he had been working only at night, and hadn't contacted more than 5 people, not even his former subordinates. Now, the third Hokage regretted making his promise. Gekko Han's reputation on the battlefield has grown increasingly formidable, even surpassing Orochimaru's. His name resounds throughout the ninja world, making him the undisputed #1 ninja below the 5 cage. Rumors even circulate that the legendary Sannin, who would rather fight side by side, would rather face Gekko Han alone. His fame reached unprecedented heights after the Sand Village's surrender. In terms of prestige, Gekko Han surpasses anyone in Konoha except himself. With such a reputation, the calls for Gekko Han to become the fourth Hokage are growing louder, even approaching Orochimaru's current popularity. Among civilian ninja, his support has surpassed Orochimaru's, and even some members of the Uchiha clan have voiced their support for him. These Uchiha members, instead of supporting their clan leader and fellow candidate, Fugaku, support Gekko Han, whom they have had almost no contact with, clearly indicating their ulterior motives. If Gekko Han's reputation continues to rise like this, when the fourth Hokage is officially elected, even if they manipulate the process behind the scenes, if Gekko Han isn't chosen, many ninjas will likely be dissatisfied with the new fourth Hokage. This is a situation he absolutely doesn't want to see. If Gekko Han were 10 years older, he might support him, but Gekko Han is too young, only 12 years old, with far too little experience. His management and political experience are severely lacking, making him unsuitable to be the fourth Hokage. Assigning Gekko Han to these missions was intended to temporarily sideline him, to keep him out of the battlefield and from the sight of most ninjas. Hokage-sama, I accept these missions, unfortunately. The third Hokage had already spoken, and the bewildered Gekko Han quickly realized what was happening and immediately replied. In the past, Gekko Han would have refused without hesitation, not even for the position of Hokage advisor, let alone the fourth Hokage who would die after taking office. However, after learning the details of his parents' deaths, Gekko Han changed his mind. He truly wanted to fight for the position of fourth Hokage. He had many ties to Konoha, Might Guy, Obito, Rin, Altair, the Hyuga Defense Force, and the Gekko clan members. He didn't want to betray Konoha, and he wouldn't give up his revenge. To get revenge, he had to become Hokage, not even as a Hokage advisor. Han is indeed an outstanding child of Konoha, the third Hokage said with a smile upon hearing Gekko Han's immediate agreement. The words weren't already out, and it was too late to back out. Fortunately, Gekko Han had agreed. Hokage-sama, could you please not bring those burdens? Bringing them is a waste of time. I need to rush to the battlefield after completing my mission, Gekko Han said, trying to negotiate. No, the third Hokage shook his head and refused. They are the future of Konoha, and they need a strong person to guide them as they grow. You wouldn't want Konoha's future to go to the battlefield without any experience, would you? To slow down Gecko Han's mission completion time, the third Hokage specifically assigned many Jinan to him. Of course, this also served to establish Gecko Han's reputation among the next generation of ninja. Gecko Han could forget about becoming the fourth Hokage, but he had a great potential as the fifth Hokage. Chapter 121 You bunch of brats, shut up. With your abilities, leading them on this mission is the safest option. Your attacks are fast, long range, and precise. You can give them a taste of blood and ensure their safety. There's no one more suitable than you. Recalling the third Hokage's undeniable words, Moonlight Han could only grumble as he walked alone towards the Ninja Academy. Of course, he wasn't the principal or a teacher at the Ninja Academy, so he didn't need to lead the students still in school. The third Hokage had chosen the academy as the meeting point, indicating a large number of Jinan to be led, at least 30. Hyuga Kato, what kind of mission do you think we're going on? Why are so many people gathered? In Class 6-2 at the Ninja Academy, Yoshizawa Amy, with her twin ponytails, tugged at her teammate Hyuga Kato's clothes and whispered. She had just counted, there were 55 Jinan gathered in this class, almost all of them recent graduates. I don't know, maybe we're going to the battlefield. Hyuga Kato shook his head, offering his guess. Going to the battlefield, Yoshizawa Amy tensed up immediately. Among the Jinan in this classroom, apart from a few, none had ever been to the battlefield. These included Thick Eyebrows, Old Pervert, Toothpick Man, Asuma, Kyorna Iyuhi, her teammates, and many others. Not all Jinan went to the battlefield, many stayed in the village handling tedious, low-level missions to gain experience. Many of these Jinan didn't have instructors. Those with instructors were led by them on missions, and those whose instructors went to the battlefield did so. Those without instructors took on low-risk missions on their own, or were notified by others. Like this time, they had been notified to come here. It shouldn't be going to the battlefield. There are no Chunin. Besides, if it were going to the battlefield, there wouldn't be just us, and we wouldn't have gathered here. Yamanaka, she couldn't help but say, listening to the conversation between the two. That's right, it shouldn't be going to the battlefield. It's probably not even a mission. Narashikayama nodded in agreement beside him. Crunch, crunch, that was the sound of the gluttonous fat man next to Narashikayama, Akimichi Satsuki. It's not that there aren't any Chunin, there are teams with instructors, and their instructors are here too, but they're all in the teacher's office, said a child from the Uchiha clan. But Shikayama is right, it's probably not going to the battlefield, and it's not some kind of mission. Sending so many Jinan for a mission is less efficient than sending Chunin. The village has a lot of low-level missions that aren't dangerous. Shisu, do you know why we're gathering? Hearing this, everyone around turned their attention to the 7-year-old Uchiha child who had spoken. Uchiha Shisu, P.S. In the original work, Rin's death signifies the end of the war with Kirigakure. Before Rin's death, Shisu had already established his reputation as the Shisu of the body flicker during the Third Shinobi World War, even fighting against Ao of Kirigakure and earning Ao's respect. This indicates that Shisu had graduated at least 2 years before Rin's death, when he was 13. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had time to build such a strong reputation on the battlefield and earn titles. Although Shisu is younger than Obito, he's not significantly younger. Kakashi is 9 years older than Itachi. Therefore, I've set Shisu to be a little over 2 years younger than Obito and a little less than 7 years older than Itachi. However, Shisu's performance was more genius-like than Obito's, so the setting of them graduating in the same year makes sense from multiple perspectives. I don't know. Uchiha Shisu shook his head. Ah, I thought you knew. Upon hearing this, the surrounding people collectively booed, deeply disappointed in this handsome young man. Lord Han, in the Ninja Academy's teacher's office, as the door opened, the 8 ninjas sitting inside immediately stood up, respectfully greeting the young man who entered, and bowing deeply. Although Yu Guanghan was casually dressed and still young, looking like a Jinan, he was actually a renowned Jonin, and the most powerful elite Jonin among them. Although the Chunin in the office had never seen Yu Guanghan before, the crescent moon armband on his left arm clearly identified him. P.S. After the Sand Village surrendered, Gecko Han was promoted to Jonin. This was not only because of his great achievements, but also because of his large number of supporters. Furthermore, Gecko Han's promotion to Jonin was also to consider the feelings of the surrendered Sand Village. Even if the third Hokage didn't want to raise Gecko Han's ninja rank, he had to, and was even given a gray blue armband with a silver crescent moon as a symbol of honor, so similar to the former White Fang of Konoha. This wasn't a promotion to Jonin without due recognition, rather, his strength and prestige were overwhelming. Entering the office, Gecko Han glanced at the people present, all unfamiliar ninjas, and asked, "Is everyone here, Lord Han?" "Everyone is here." "They've all assembled in Team 6-2, a Chunin stepped forward and said. He sized up this young man who already struck fear into the hearts of the entire ninja world. Looking at this Chunin who seemed to be a representative among the group, Yu Guang'an asked, "What's your name, Lord Han?" "My name is Yumino Iru." Upon hearing this, the Chunin immediately stood up straight and answered loudly. "While I'm away, you'll be in charge of everyone in the team." Yu Guang'an nodded, noting the Chunin's name. "Now come with me to see these Jinan." "Yes, sir." Everyone stood up straight and answered loudly. "They're really lively." Outside the classroom of Team 6-2, listening to the noise inside, Yu Guang'an said with a smile. Behind Yu Guang'an, the 6th Chunin looked displeased. These were students they were responsible for instructing. This noise was unacceptable. "Don't look so serious. Being energetic is a good thing. It's better than a lifeless battlefield," Yu Guang'an said with a smile, pushing open the door and entering the classroom of Team 6-2. He waved to the 6 Chunin behind him, indicating they didn't need to come in yet. Sigh. "Another one. Is he late? He seems to be a senior." The classroom fell silent for a moment upon seeing Moonlight Han enter, then erupted into noise again. "Han, you're here too," Might Guy's booming voice rang out. "Eh? It's actually Han Senpai." Matera Shianko looked at Moonlight Han in surprise, immediately sitting up straight, sensing that this mission was probably no easy task. She wasn't a novice. Who was Moonlight Han? He was a butcher on the battlefield, a terminator on the battlefield, a killing machine in the ninja world. A mission that could attract Moonlight Han couldn't be simple. "Anko. Do you know this senior?" Kyornai looked at the suddenly quiet Anko with a puzzled expression. "Kyornai, don't talk. Sit up straight." Hearing her best friend's question, Matera Shianko didn't dare turn her head, speaking softly. Uchiha Shisu and Hyuga Kato were in the same boat. Seeing Moonlight Han, the two were also very nervous and excited. "You bunch of brats, shut up," a loud shout rang out in the classroom, instantly silencing the noisy room. "Who the hell are you? So arrogant, don't think I won't beat you up just because you're a senior. Want to fight? Come on, try it. Afraid of you? Go outside and practice." Chapter 122 Beating Shit Out. It's over. Outside Class 6-2's classroom, after hearing the extremely arrogant shouts from inside, the 6 Chunin outside simultaneously covered their faces with their hands. This guy had defeated 5 or 6,000 people on the battlefield, killing more than they knew anyone. How could he be afraid of a few dozen Jinan who had never even seen a battlefield? Although they knew Moonlight Han wouldn't get angry over such a small matter, they, as his teachers, were losing face. What's the use of just shouting? Come out and fight one-on-one. The next moment, Moonlight Han's even more arrogant shouts rang out in the classroom. "One by one, is it me against your whole group, or your whole group against me? Too arrogant. Even if you're a senior, so what? I'll still beat you up. Afraid of you. My youth is burning. Today we're going to beat you to pulp. Beat me to pulp. Today I'll beat you to pulp, then beat you into a pile of shit, and then use your shit to beat you up. My god." Even Lord Han is going crazy. Outside the door, hearing the last words from inside the classroom, the 6 Chunin all facepalmed, feeling an overwhelming urge to use earth release to create a crack in the ground and disappear into it. Moonlight Han's ability to curse was equal to his ability to kill. Damn it, let's all beat him up, everyone, let's go. Even if he's a senior, he can't beat so many of us. Let's beat the shit out of him today. My youth won't allow me to back down. Beat him up. The enraged shouts grew even louder, echoing throughout the entire school. It's over. It's really over. Han-sama's gone crazy too. Once Han-sama's done beating us up, we're definitely going to get a tongue lashing. Hearing the commotion inside, the 6 Chunin felt utterly hopeless. They wanted to rush in and stop him, but they didn't dare. Crack, bang, crash. The next moment, the classroom echoed with the sounds of chairs falling over, heavy impacts, and shattering glass. Should we go in? Outside the door, listening to the commotion inside, the 6 Chunin looked at each other, none of them able to make up their minds. Although they knew the students wouldn't be in real danger, They were sure to get a severe beating. This kid is too reckless. In the Hokage's office, observing the situation in the classroom through a crystal ball using the telescope technique, the third Hokage rubbed his head in exasperation. Fortunately, he could tell that Gekko-han's actions were merely to establish his authority, to prevent these mischievous children from becoming disobedient during the mission. He also knew his limits, otherwise, he would have thought Gekko-han wanted to send these Jinan to the hospital so he could finish the mission quickly. Hopefully, this kid will show some mercy to Asuma, otherwise it would be too embarrassing. But he doesn't seem to know that Asuma is my child. In the classroom of Class 6-2 at the Ninja Academy, Jinan were forced to fly around the classroom, and the desks and chairs were overturned in no time. Cries of pain rose and fell. Youth doesn't allow for giving up, accompanied by a signature, passionate shout. These students didn't disappoint. One by one, after being knocked down by the Moonlight Warriors, they rose again, their fighting spirit burning as they charged towards him once more. Of course, there were exceptions. Red Bean, are we really not going to help? We're all classmates who graduated at the same time. Are we just going to watch them get hurt? In a corner of the classroom, Kurenai, being pulled along by Red Bean, asked hesitantly, watching the Jinan being beaten and screamed, flying around in all directions, and wanting to help. Don't be silly, if you go up there you'll just get beaten to pulp like them. I'm not stupid enough to go up there and get beaten up. It's not like anyone's going to die. Hearing this, Red Bean quickly shook her head and pouted. Going up to fight the Moonlight Warriors, they weren't even serious. But, didn't the teacher always teach us to value teamwork? It really doesn't look good to just watch like this. Maybe this is a test of our teamwork? Kurenai was still somewhat hesitant. Impossible. Upon hearing this, Anko shook her head without hesitation. Looking at the Jinan who was being beaten and sent flying all over the classroom, she said with great certainty, that guy was clearly venting. How can someone crush everyone in an assessment? Hearing this, Kurenai looked and realized it was true. She immediately fell silent. Kato-kun, he's so arrogant, provoking all of us by himself. Why did you pull us along? Although he is indeed very strong, if we all go together, we can definitely beat him down. In another corner of the classroom, Hyuga Kato had pulled two teammates to hide there. One of them said to Hyuga Kato with great dissatisfaction, "Which eye of yours saw that we had a chance to beat that adult down, let alone be able to beat him down? This is clearly a complete annihilation." Hyuga Kato looked at his teammate speechlessly, and unconsciously tightened his grip on his hand. I don't want to get beaten to pulp, and the Hyuga clan can't afford to lose face like that. If you dare to lay a hand on me, I'll beat you to pulp first. Wow, he's amazing. It's like he predicted every single one of everyone's every move. And his attacks are incredibly precise, even more precise than the Sharingan's predictions. At the back of the classroom, Uchiha Shisu, who had been pulling his teammates to safety from the very beginning of the fight, looked at the Jinan flying around the class in astonishment and muttered to himself. Beside him, another Uchiha clansman who had also pulled his teammates to safety had the same expression. He was too strong, completely crushing everyone. Everyone, stop. He's not a Jinan, he's a Jonin. In the classroom, after taking more than a dozen punches, Asuma, unwilling to give up, finally shouted loudly. At this point, he was already bruised and swollen, looking as exaggerated as the third Hokage rock that Naruto would later hilariously depict. Actually, he already knew that the person who came was Gekko-han. The third Hokage had told him about it yesterday. Facing this guy who was only 3 years older than him but already a renowned Jonin, he was still very resentful. Just because he was 3 years older didn't mean he was much stronger. Among those who had been jeering, besides Might Guy, Asuma was the loudest. Once the fight started, he charged in just as fast as Might Guy, suffering defeat after defeat, yet never giving up. The result? They hadn't even managed to hurt Moonlight Han. Having been secretly watched over by Moonlight Han, Asuma was now in pain all over, his crotch torn. Unable to bear it any longer, he shouted to stop everyone. What? Jonin, how is that possible? How old is he? How could he be a Jonin? Hearing Asuma's shout, shocked voices echoed throughout the classroom. At the same time, the intimidating title of Jonin finally calmed everyone down. Stop. Outside the classroom, 6 Chunin exchanged glances and immediately appeared inside, standing behind Moonlight Han. The classroom was now a mix of bright red and yellow. The Jinan were all bruised and battered, but none of them fell down. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, It means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Transformers, Espionage. Lord Han, you didn't actually beat the shit out of them, did you? Looking at the numerous bright red marks and patches of yellow amidst the classroom, and most of the students also bearing yellow stains and an indescribable stench, the 6th Chunin felt a chill run down their spines. If they really had shit out of them, it would be a trauma they could never shake off. How could someone as kind as me use such force? It's just marking paint, Moonlight Han said with a smile, pulling out an extra-large marking pen from his person. Marking pen, technical template, used for tactical marking. Possesses various colors and a special smell, cannot be washed off by ordinary methods. Materialization consumes 1 energy point. Haha, haha, I knew it. Lord Han wouldn't take these kids seriously? Haha, haha. Hearing this, the 6th Chunin laughed, but their laughter was awkward and stiff. Tell them to go home and change their clothes. Meet at the village gate in 2 hours. Looking at the 6th Chunin with their stiff smiles, Moonlight Han left after uttering these words. Phew, after Yu Guanghan left, the 6th Chunin all breathed a sigh of relief. Yumino Aru stepped forward and said, listen up, you bunch of ignorant brats. This is Lord Yu Guanghan, a Konoha Jonin, and also the captain of our team for this mission. Your actions just now were blasphemy. He really is a Jonin. We all ganged up on him. Won't we get slapped in the future? Han actually became a Jonin. My youth is boiling again. Hearing the Chunin instructor's words, the Jonin who had just attacked were dumbfounded. Well, except for one hot-blooded idiot who didn't pay attention to the point. Anko, did you know from the beginning, which is why you didn't want to participate? Hearing Chunin Yumino's words, Yuhikirni stared wide-eyed at Anko. So cute. Kane, thanks to you for stopping me. You're my best buddy. Tsujamoto Ryuji gratefully held Hyuga Kato's hand. He was so close, so very close, to rush in. Quiet down, all of you. What kind of nonsense is this? Wasn't the lesson you just learned enough? Seeing the Jonin starting to make noise again, he roared, go home and change your clothes within 2 hours, pack what you need, and assemble at the village gate in an hour and a half. Do you all understand? Yes, sir. The classroom fell silent after Yumino Iru's shout, the Jonin answering softly. Then hurry up and go. Yumino Iru roared again. Han, congratulations on becoming a Jonin. In the detached house of the Moonlight Clan, Miyako handed Moonlight Han an exquisitely packaged long sword, saying casually. It was a black long sword, a meter long including the hilt, perfectly suited to Moonlight Han's current height, and judging by its appearance, it was probably quite valuable. Han-senpai, congratulations on becoming a Jonin. Hyuga Shinosuke followed closely behind, handing his prepared gift to Gekko-han. Compared to the black longsword Miyako had given him, Shinosuke's gift was much less valuable, but still quite precious. Han-senpai, congratulations on becoming a Jonin. We'll catch up with you someday. Altair also presented his gift. Although it wasn't nearly as valuable as the previous two's gifts, it was still very exquisite. Thank you. Gekko-han accepted the gifts from the 3 in turn, smiling at Altair and Hyuga Shinosuke. I heard you're going to the battlefield in Kirigakure. I'll give you a few gifts as a return gift. They might come in handy at a crucial moment. Wait a moment. After saying that, Gekko-han went into the room. A moment later, he returned with 3 items resembling cell phones, handing them to the 3. What are these? Miyako asked curiously as she received Gekko-han's gift. There were no cell phones in the Naruto world, so the 3 naturally didn't recognize them. Besides Moonlight Han himself, there was no signal station, so they could only contact Moonlight Han. This is called a cell phone. It's something I created using my bloodline limit. No matter how far away, it can transmit messages to me in a timely manner. Even if the distance is very far, we can still talk. In addition, it can store information and leave messages, Moonlight Han said with a smile, teaching the 3 how to use it. This wasn't an ordinary cell phone, but a robot spy from Transformers, a tiny transformer that, after transforming, was almost invisible, using extremely sharp flying discs as weapons. It was a technology template. Manifesting it required 1,000 energy points, making it very cheap. Its value lay entirely in its technological capabilities despite its small size. However, Moonlight Han didn't mention this to the three. The three quickly learned how to use it and carefully kept it close to their bodies, cherishing it dearly. It's almost time. I need to go to the village entrance to gather. Once you reach the battlefield against the hidden mist, you must protect yourselves, Moonlight Han said with a smile. Okay. You need to protect yourself too. 2 hours later, when Yu Guanghan arrived at the gates of Konoha village, Yumino and 6 other Chunin were already waiting at the village entrance with a Jinan. Let's go. Looking at the assembled group, Yu Guanghan gave the order directly and rushed out of the village first. There were no unnecessary words or exciting speeches. Follow me, Yumino Iru shouted loudly to the assembled Jinan, leading them to quickly catch up with Yu Guanghan's pace. Lord Han, we've investigated thoroughly. The bandits' hideout is in Jingshan, 20 miles from the village. Their leader is a man named Miyamoto Kiji. According to the villagers, there are about 100 bandits in the mountains. The exact number is unknown, but it shouldn't exceed 200. We don't know if there are any wandering ninjas or rogue ninjas among them. The villagers didn't see or hear of any ninjas among them. In the forest behind the village, Yumino Iru, along with 3 students, quietly returned to their hiding place and reported to Yu Guanghan. Let's go, Jingshan. After hearing the information, Yu Guanghan immediately gave the order. He led everyone around the village and headed towards Jingshan. 3 hours later, PFFT, with a soft sound like a fart, a bandit hiding in the bushes 80 meters away suddenly had a spurt of blood on his forehead. He collapsed limply into the bushes, dying without making a sound or movement. Thud. Thud. 2 more soft sounds rang out as the bandits hiding in the bushes on the large tree nearby fell to the ground. At the same time, another bandit fell from a different tree. Thus, the 3 sentry posts on the west side of the bandit stronghold had been silently and instantly eliminated by Moonlight Han. Is this Lord Han's strength? His attacks are so subtle. You can't even see the trajectory. The 6 Chunin were shocked as they watched the 3 bandit sentries die in the blink of an eye. They compared themselves to these Chunin and realized they were no different from the bandit lackeys in front of Moonlight Han. So powerful, the Jinan were also stunned. Now that the sentries here are cleared, go all out and kill them all, Moonlight Han said, leading the charge towards the bandit stronghold several hundred meters away. This time, Moonlight Han only needed them to draw blood. He didn't need these Jinan, who had never been on the battlefield before, to show any special skills. Just charge in, he and the 6 Chunin would handle the rest. However, Moonlight Han will gradually increase the difficulty for them, accelerating their growth. There isn't much content about the bandits in this section. Chapter 124 Suppressing Bandits. Suppressing Bandits. Suppressing Bandits. Ugh. Ugh. The sounds of vomiting echoed continuously from the edge of the bandit stronghold in Jingshan, making one instinctively think of going to the toilet. 6 Chunin instructors bustled about, constantly bringing water to the vomiting Jinan and patting their backs. These Jinan, who had never even seen a battlefield, couldn't withstand such a scene, especially since they hadn't experienced anything like it many times. Looking at the corpses scattered throughout the stronghold, many mutilated by ninjutsu, with limbs and flesh strewn everywhere, even Anko, who had seen battle and killed enemies, couldn't help but vomit along with the others. Lord Han, isn't it counterproductive to expose them to such scenes so early? Looking at the Jinan huddled in the corner vomiting, Yumino Iru asked with some concern. These children were only 9 or 10 years old, the oldest just 11. Such a brutal scene would be incredibly impactful for these Jinan who had never experienced war or killing. It might even leave them with lasting psychological trauma. Moonlight Han shook his head and said with a smile, the first time I killed someone, I killed 30 ninjas. Back then, I could say I used any means necessary. Now, they only kill an average of 2 or 3 bandits. I don't expect them to be like me, but what happens on the battlefield isn't up to us, much less these low-ranking ninjas who haven't even been on the battlefield yet. Many low-ranking ninjas have seen far more brutal and dangerous things on the battlefield than they have, and countless lives have been lost. If they can't overcome this now, we have many opportunities to correct them during this mission. If they can get through this, they can grow much stronger in the future. But if we let them adapt step by step, they might not be able to adapt when they finally get to the battlefield. After all, there are more ninjutsu on the battlefield, more powerful ones, and the ways to die are far more gruesome, with far more corpses than now. I don't want them to become one of those unfortunate people, sir. I've spoken too much, Yumino Iru said, bowing his head. Yu Guanghan was right. Many Jinan who went to the battlefield for the first time saw far more brutal scenes than this. Those Jinan faced ninjas on the battlefield, while the Jinan he was leading were only facing bandits, which was already quite mild. Give them another hour to adapt, then head to the nearby town. You are responsible for cleaning up and burning the corpses. Not seeing such scenes will help them adapt more quickly, Yu Guang'an said, and went to check the bandits' collection. In a town near Jingshan, when Yu Guang'an led 6 chunin and more than 50 Jinan covered in blood and looking dejected into the townspeople all kept their distance, afraid of offending these ninja masters who had just finished killing, or getting in their way. They've almost vomited up their stock in the mountain stronghold. I suggest we go have some barbecue next. We can't go without energy for the rest of the time, Yu Guang'an suggested with a smile as they entered the town. Ugh. Ugh. The moment Moonlight Han finished speaking, a series of retching sounds rang out. The mere mention of barbecue reminded the Jinan of the scene at the bandit stronghold. Even the most youthful and energetic Might Guy looked listless, retching along with the others. Han, please don't eat barbecue, Might Guy said weakly. Recovering slightly after retching. Guy, what are you saying? You're youth. How can youth be without barbecue? You're a Taijutsu ninja, how can you not eat meat? Moonlight Han said with a smile. Ugh, Might Guy immediately retched. Hearing Moonlight Han mention barbecue again, and more than once, the Jinan retched again. Seeing this, Yu Minoru had no choice but to suggest to Moonlight Han, Lord Han, judging from their appearance, they probably can't eat meat either. Let's go eat some vegetarian food, alright, Moonlight Han nodded. Hearing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and the gagging gradually subsided. Let's go eat sashimi next time, it's been so long. Just as everyone finally forgot about the grilled meat in their minds, Moonlight Han's voice rang out again. Ugh, 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 this time the gagging was even louder. Are you a devil? Looking at Moonlight Han, the 6 Chunin instructors finally understood. Moonlight Han was doing it on purpose, and they couldn't help but silently mourn for these poor kids. There were still more than 20 missions to exterminate mountain bandits left, and these kids were going to have a hard time. It's actually Moonlight Han, the killing machine of the ninja world. He's actually leading a group of rookie Jinan. What is Konoha trying to do? In a certain house, a man carefully observed the situation outside, quickly thinking. Although he didn't know what Konoha's purpose was, the fact that Moonlight Han wouldn't appear on the battlefield for the time being was great news for them. This ninja world's killing machine almost guaranteed massive casualties wherever he went. Tsunagakure and Iwagakure are examples. Incomplete statistics show that over 5,000 ninjas died at the hands of Gecko Han, and the number is likely higher. Moreover, not all of them were Jinan, a significant number were Chunin and Joinin. In the battle at Tenchi Bridge, Gecko Han alone killed at least 2,000 ninjas, instantly becoming infamous throughout the ninja world. After Gecko Han and his group left the street, the man immediately sprang into action. Meanwhile, in the land of rain. Damn it. Baka. Yaru. Upon receiving news from his subordinates about the village, Danzo was furious at the third Hokage's inexplicable actions, loudly cursing the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, for being stupid. Instead of using Moonlight Han, a killing machine in this war, to train rookie Jinan, Moonlight Han should be on the battlefield. The extent to which this war needs Moonlight Han is self-evident. Even the third Hokage has given Moonlight Han ample face, resisting immense temptations to allow him to perform, and not even a single member of the Moonlight clan has been harmed. With Moonlight Han's participation, not only could the war end sooner, but with people dying every moment on the battlefield, Moonlight Han could tie down a large number of enemies, preventing countless casualties. In this war, Konoha, possessing Moonlight Han, undoubtedly holds a significant advantage, yet the third Hokage has now abandoned this advantage. Although Danzo knows the third Hokage's intention, that he fears Moonlight Han's reputation is too high and therefore chooses to sideline him, suppressing his prestige and preventing him from becoming the fourth Hokage, Danzo also believes Moonlight Han cannot become the fourth Hokage. However, Danzo does not agree with the third Hokage's actions, considering them extremely foolish. Chapter 125 Defeat in the Fog-Hidden Battlefield. In the infamous gambling street, Tansaku Street, within a tavern, a cacophony of noise filled the air. The incoherent ramblings of drunken children echoed through the tavern. Their voices were all childish, clearly indicating that the intoxicated children were very young. It was infuriating. Who was corrupting these undeveloped flowers? Yet, despite the children's loud and unrestrained ravings, No one dared to intervene. Even those who, unaware of the situation, stormed into the tavern, intending to reprimand the children and the owner who sold them alcohol, would emerge bowing and scraping the moment they entered, not daring to utter a sound. This was because the children were all wearing ninja headbands, and their clothes were stained with blood. These children were ninjas who had recently committed murder. Looks like they've been suppressing their emotions for too long. Indeed, after killing so many people, they can finally let loose today. In the tavern, listening to the drunken ravings of these still childish Jinan, Yuminoaru laughed and discussed with his companions. It had been a month since Gekko-han and his group left the village to suppress bandits, and now it was the end of Konoha's 45th year, with New Year's Day just a month and a half away. During this time, they had wiped out more than 10 bandit groups, and more than half of the 20-odd bandit suppression missions had been completed. The growth of these Jinan rookies was also evident every day. However, the continuous battles and killings had left these Jinan rookies emotionally repressed, and some had even developed war syndrome. Today, Gekko-han did not take them to continue suppressing bandits, but instead came to a tavern in Tansaku Street to drown their sorrows. At first, when Gekko-han suggested that everyone drink, the Chunin strongly opposed it, but under Gekko-han's pressure and sophistry of special cases are special and higher rank is higher, their opposition ultimately became meaningless, and even they themselves became slightly drunk. Now it seems that Moonlight Hand's decision was correct, even admirable. After venting his frustrations through drinking, the Jinan's condition and mentality were much better, and the Jinan with obvious war syndrome problems were also significantly improved. Crack, the sound of a glass shattering rang out in the tavern, but since drunken Jinan often broke glasses, it didn't attract much attention. What happened, however, the 6 Chunin noticed, their drinking and discussion stopping as they looked at each other, their relaxed expressions turning serious. Because the one who broke the glass wasn't one of the other drunken Jinan, but Moonlight Han, and the glass was crushed by Moonlight Han himself. Lord Han, Yuminoaru was about to ask. Yumino Chunin, the mission to eliminate the bandits is temporarily suspended until I return. From now on, the 6 of you will be in charge of leading the team and protecting their safety. Take this, you can contact me. Before Yumino could finish speaking, Moonlight Han hurriedly said, and hastily tossed a strange little thing to Yuminoaru. Lord Han, what happened? Seeing Moonlight Han's anxiety, Yuminoaru was about to ask again. Judging from Moonlight Han's appearance, something urgent had clearly happened. However, Moonlight Han had no time to answer him. He transformed into Megatron right there in the tavern, blasting the roof off with a hand cannon. And his 12-meter-tall body leaped into the sky, transforming back into a Cybertronian fighter jet and flying away in the blink of an eye. He was so fast that Yumino didn't even finish this sentence before Moonlight Han disappeared into the horizon. What happened? Where did the roof go? The sudden change also sobered the drunken Jinan up a bit. Looking at the missing roof, they looked at each other blankly, belatedly realizing what had happened, but none of them knew what had happened. Everyone, leave here immediately, Yuminoaru immediately gave the order. Although they didn't know what had happened, safety was obviously the top priority now. In the fog-shrouded forest, everything was white and pitch black, so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. The sounds of clashing weapons, shouts of battle, the whooshing of ninjutsu, and the screams of the dying echoed continuously through the thick fog. This was a coastal region, the battlefield between Konoha and Kirigakure. Today, even the heavens seemed to be on Kirigakure's side. Before dawn, an incredibly dense fog had gathered on the sea, covering an area of over 100 kilometers. Kirigakure seized the opportunity, unleashing a barrage of Kirigakure techniques, making the fog so thick that visibility was virtually zero. Even attempts to disperse the fog with wind release techniques only replenished the fog from other areas, wasting chakra without any real effect. Within this dense fog, the Konoha ninja were severely hampered. Even the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan was significantly countered. The tide was in Kirigakure's favor. Even more unexpectedly for the Konoha ninja, the tide had risen, and with Kirigakure's manipulation, the seawater had flooded the forest, giving Kirigakure the advantage in terrain as well. The Konoha ninja camp was shattered by the continuous barrage of water release, waterfall techniques. The cost of being scattered in the dense fog was that all the Konoha ninjas were forced to fight in small, isolated groups, centered around sensory ninjas. Even their numbers were gone. Fortunately, the Hyuga clan possessed the Byakugan, which could ignore the fog. Although at a disadvantage, They weren't completely suppressed by the hidden mist village. Guided by the shots of the Hyuga ninjas, the Konoha ninjas could still put up some resistance, but if they didn't leave, defeat was inevitable. Now, the Konoha ninjas could only defend and slowly retreat, their only way out. The Konoha ninjas had considered regrouping, but it was impossible. Once their numbers exceeded a certain point, the assembled group would quickly be scattered again by the massive water release attacks. The cost of being scattered would be that those who were dispersed would be killed by the hidden mist village. Hyuga Miyako, Altair, and Hyuga Shinosuke also participated in this battle. The 3 ninjas and over 10 Konoha ninjas formed a circular defensive formation and slowly retreated. The core of this formation was Hyuga Miyako and Hyuga Shinosuke. 3 Kirigakure ninjas are approaching from the east, Hyuga Miyako shouted. Several ninjutsu techniques immediately flew in the direction she indicated. However, there were still some deviations, as the attacking ninjas didn't possess Byakugan. Several water walls rose from the waterlogged ground, blocking the Konoha ninjas' ninjutsu, and the 3 Kirigakure ninjas hidden in the thick fog quickly retreated. They've retreated, Miyako said, but she didn't relax. Kirigakure ninjas were hidden everywhere in the thick fog. Fighting in such an environment was extremely disadvantageous. These Kirigakure ninjas were like a pack of wolves lurking in the darkness. They wouldn't engage in direct combat but constantly search for opportunities, and once they found one, it would be a fatal blow. The Konoha ninjas could only fight in groups, centered around their sensory ninjas. It's easy to imagine that Konoha will suffer heavy casualties in this battle. Boom! A sound like a waterfall suddenly echoed through the forest. Watch out! It's water release, great waterfall technique, coming straight for us, Miyako cried out urgently, her Byakugan already seeing the massive amount of seawater surging towards them through the thick fog. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.